Jon and Jim.
What's going on, San Diego? Jon and Jim on a Monday. Jon, he just landed in Dayton. I just got the text, so he's on his way to the hotel right now with the team. He's going to be joining us a little later in the show. We have so much to get to today. It was a packed sports weekend here in San Diego. We got history to talk about with March Madness. We have an opening day starter, Brent, for the Padres. I was at the SDFC game on Saturday night. Just so much to talk about. Kevin Acey is going to join us at 5 p.m. today, but we have to start with, obviously, everything was riding on yesterday at 3 p.m. for the San Diego State men's basketball team, whether they were going to get called or they weren't into the NCAA tournament. Jon, I know, is holding his breath for the last, 72 hours leading up to that moment in time. I don't think that he slept since that Thursday when they lost to Boise in the their first round game of the Mountain West Conference tournament. But they are in, and it was very quickly we knew that they were in as well. There was no waiting. It was right away. They got announced as the first four. They're going to play North Carolina, which we'll get into North Carolina here in a bit. But yeah, they're in, and that's all that matters. I said last week, all that I cared about was San Diego State just getting their name called. I didn't care about seeding. I didn't care about first four. I didn't care if they were a 16 seed, even though they wouldn't have been. But I just didn't care. Didn't matter to me. All that mattered was that their name got called. And now you can say for the last 5 years, the Aztecs have been in the NCAA tournament. Should have been 6, obviously, with the 2020 season, but we won't talk about that. But yeah, this has been one of Dutch's best coaching seasons with how young this team was, with the loss of Reese Waters at the beginning of the year, the loss of Magon Guth at the end of the season. It to all culminate with them making another trip to the NCAA tournament. I just think that is it's just a fantastic job by Dutch. I mean, there's no, for me today, Brent, that there's really no complaining. There's no, I wish they were this. I didn't wish they're, no, I said it and I'll stand by it. I did not care where they were going to be slotted as long as they were slotted somewhere in the field of 68.
Yeah, we weren't really in a position to be complaining about what seed we got.
Right.
It's one of those things where, it's the Caddyshack. You're going to get, you're going to get whatever you get. You're going to like it.
Exactly.
But yeah, I was going to say same thing you said, that I was so happy that we didn't have to wait.
Yeah.
Like pretty much like
another commercial. Oh my God.
Because I had it on the iHeartRadio app walking around with my dog. And I think we had to go through maybe 2 commercial breaks and that was it. And then we knew right away. Yeah. I was so worried that it was going to be one of those things where we're going to be the last like grouping announced, to where they're just going to make us sweat it out. Cause every year during the selection show, they make that one team like just sweat it out.
Well, they got an hour to fill and 68 teams to announce. They could do it in literally 5 seconds, but of course it's television and they got to drag it out. But I'm glad that, like you said, Brent, as we said here, like, just get it over with. Just tell me, are they in or are they out? And looking at how close it was for them, I mean, they were the second to last team in this tournament. The very last team in this tournament is North Carolina. And I know the conspiracy theorists are out there. It's hard not to go down that road with the athletic director of North Carolina being the head of the selection committee this year. And then you look at North Carolina's resume and you're like, wait, 1-12 versus quad 1 teams. They don't have the only thing they have over the other teams that didn't make it was their net. But overall, this is not a tournament team, yet they are in the tournament. And I'm not going to go down the full, this is an outrage. I can't believe the North Carolina made it. That's because now the entire country is they're Aztecs fans, right? Everybody in this country, except for North Carolina fans, are going to be rooting for San Diego State tomorrow night because most everybody feels like North Carolina should not have made this tournament. And they shouldn't have made it. They shouldn't. It's an awful look for the committee to have the AD of North Carolina being the head of the selection committee. Now he says, "Oh, I wasn't in the room." Okay, well, guess what? You got people in that room that don't want to piss you off, and it just felt like there was a clear agenda here to put North Carolina in over, say, Boise or Indiana. But it is what it is. San Diego State's in. They play North Carolina tomorrow. And it just goes back to how important that Houston win was for San Diego State this year. I mean, at the time, I don't think we knew it. We all knew that this was going to be when they beat Houston in the NIL tournament in Vegas, that it was going to be a big win for their resume down the road. But I don't think we knew just how big of a win that was going to be for their resume. Here's the committee talking about the reason why they had San Diego State in the field.
Hey, Bob, I'm just curious about this Mountain West related question. 2 teams from this league were vying for one of the final spots in the field, San Diego State and Boise State. The Broncos beat the Aztecs this week at the Mountain West Conference Tournament. Why was San Diego State the choice for Dayton and not Boise State?
Well, that San Diego State really had a great year as well. So did Boise. But San Diego State really had a couple of great wins early in the year in their non-conference schedule. And we felt like they scheduled themselves really pretty well. They didn't have quite as much success in the league this year. But particularly that win against Houston really buoyed their resume in the minds of the committee. So we think that they deserve to be in. And we're delighted that they are in. And we're delighted that the Mountain West has such great representation this year.
So 4 teams from the Mountain West Conference: Utah State, New Mexico, obviously Colorado State by winning the Mountain West Conference tournament, and San Diego State in there as well. I would have thrown a fit if San Diego State didn't make this tournament. And I'm just glad that we don't have to talk about that today. Like, I'm really happy that we do not have to talk about that, because let's be real. Like, this is a tournament team. They're a tournament team. They deserve to make the tournament, even though it's, they're second to last in, right? They still deserved to make this tournament. They had, as far as their non-conference schedule goes, one of the best non-conference schedules out there. Their resume, when you stack it up against the other teams that were on the bubble, I'm sorry, if somehow the committee put Boise in over San Diego State, that would have been ridiculous. If they put Indiana over San Diego State, I'd been like, what are they looking at here? And I'm sure if you're an Indiana fan today, and I'm sure if you're a Boise fan, you're feeling the same way about North Carolina. Like, what are you looking at? But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. And we now have to have a quick turnaround tomorrow night, 6:10 p.m. in Dayton, first 4. And is it tough for the Aztecs? Absolutely. North Carolina, it's not going to be easy. North Carolina this year, I was asking John about this last night, Brent, because I wanted to know, because if you look at North Carolina's resume, right, they're 1-12 in quad 1 games. So I asked John, I go, is this a considered quad 1 game for North Carolina? Now, North Carolina has beaten up on quad 2 teams all year long. They just have no good wins on their resume. Going into tomorrow night's game, because where the Aztecs are on the net, technically, this is a quad 2 game for North Carolina. So again, I'm not going to use that as the end all be all to why I am, scared of North Carolina. There's other reasons why North Carolina, is a pretty big threat to San Diego State. But all in all, I think if you're an Aztecs fan today, you have to be absolutely thrilled. Absolutely thrilled. And if you're not, then you're just a curmudgeon. I don't know what other way to put it. You're just mad to be mad. This team, albeit might not win a national championship, okay? They might not even get past North Carolina tomorrow. The fact that in this first year with this group, without probably their best player in Reese Waters, how young they were, how you have very little experience on this team, how they were put together in the offseason, and to play out this year, beat Houston and Creighton and have a pretty decent regular season. Not a great regular season, but it's a decent one. Dealing with injuries to some key players. And after all that, they're in the tournament. That is I think a great accomplishment for this program, to be honest with you.
It's one of those things that proves that scheduling matters.
Absolutely.
There's a reason why, we always put, top-notch non-conference opponents in there. One, because it makes them a better team at the end of the year, but two, it looks good on their tournament resume. And, throughout the conference season, you always play teams that, they're 15 or whatever, and their record looks deceiving compared to what it really is. And Ted will always be like, oh yeah, but they played a bunch of cupcakes and everything. The committee looks at stuff like that. They looked at who San Diego State was playing in their non-conference and who some of these other schools were playing in their non-conference. And like I said, that Houston win, that's what got them in.
That's literally, I think, the sole reason why. And that thing held up all year long. And to remind you out there, it wasn't just the Houston win. The Houston win is on the top of their resume. It's like the shiniest object they have when they presented their resume to the selection committee. But you also have to look at some of their close wins that they had this year, that if they did not win those games, that Houston win wouldn't have been as shiny. I mean, that Wayne McKinney layup to beat Air Force on the road, if that doesn't happen, they're not in. Like looking at where they're slotted in as the second to last team in this tournament. If Wayne McKinney does not make that full court layup to beat Air Force on the road, they're not in. If they don't have that epic comeback on the road against San Jose State, they're not in. If they don't have that epic comeback at home against San Jose State, they're not in. So, yes, the Houston win has proved to be everything. But when you look a little deeper, you also have to realize that there were wins on their schedule here that could have easily been losses and would have 100% pushed them out of this tournament. I could argue that Wayne McKinney game winner against Air Force was the shot of the year easily. Like, no question about it. That literally saved their season. That I'm not trying to be like over dramatic. That saved the Aztecs season. That layup right there, without it, they're not in this tournament. So I think for today, if you're an Aztec fan, try not to be too critical. I know it's easy coming from a guy like me who is critical a lot of the time, but to look at what this team did this year and beating a Houston team that could very easily win a national championship, by the way, like they're a number one seed in this tournament. They won the Big 12. They only lost, I think, maybe twice since the San Diego State game. They have wins over Creighton, who's in the tournament. Obviously, Colorado State, New Mexico. They hung with Oregon. If Miles Bird was healthy, they would have hung, I think the game would have been closer against Gonzaga. They're a tournament team. They deserved it. Magon Guth, missing the last 6 games, that I think affected things. And I think it also maybe might have helped them as well, because telling the committee that Magon Guth, oh, by the way, is now going to be 100% good to go for this team tomorrow night against North Carolina, maybe that also helped the committee's decision to put in San Diego State as well. So there was a lot of different things there that helped San Diego State get in this tournament, and they absolutely deserve it. And I think you should celebrate that today if you're an Aztecs fan, because, who knows what could happen in the future. These things aren't given every year. They're earned. And this Aztec team 100% earned their trip into March Madness. All right, coming up in the show, Kevin Acey is going to join us at 5 p.m. Jon landed in Dayton about 45 minutes ago. So whenever he gets back to the hotel and he gets all set up, he's going to join the show live from Dayton. But coming up next, the Padres have named their opening day starter. Why did they name Michael King their opening day starter? And why San Diego feels like the sports hub for college basketball this year for March Madness. We'll talk about all that coming up next. All right, so in any other year, if San Diego State, the men's team, just made the tournament, that's great for the city. Love it. Right? I mean, they have been the constant in this town as far as basketball goes for, March Madness. They've been the only team in town that could, make the tournament until this year with UCSD. UCSD becoming a D1 school. And I think it's pretty cool that in the first year as a Division I program, not only do the men's team make the tournament for UCSD, but also the women's team makes the tournament for UCSD. And oh, by the way, also the Aztecs women make the tournament as well. So you have the Aztecs men's team, the Aztecs women's team, the UCSD men's team, and the UCSD women's team. So everybody's in. Everybody. And I don't know if we'll see, like, I don't know when we'll see something like this for these schools. Again, last time that the women for the Aztecs for San Diego State made the tournament was well over a decade ago. And UCSD never made the tournament because they were never a Division I program. And now they're like the trendy pick, the men's side is, the trendy pick to make some real legitimate noise in this tournament. I think it's fantastic. I think it's great for the city. Because, I mean, if you're just a college basketball fan in this town, listen to this. So, obviously, tomorrow night, San Diego State and North Carolina, 6 p.m. Okay. Wednesday at 6 p.m., we have the UCSD women playing Southern in the first four. Then on Thursday, you have UCSD, the men's side, playing Michigan at 7 p.m. And then Saturday, you have the SDSU women taking on LSU at 7:15. And oh, by the way, if San Diego State beats North Carolina tomorrow, they play on Friday against Ole Miss at 1 p.m. So there's a potential here, Brent, where you could have for the next, 5 days, right? The next 5 days, you could have local college basketball in March Madness, starting with tomorrow night. Then you got Wednesday, and then you got Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And by the way, if San Diego State happened to beat Ole Miss, then they're playing on Sunday as well. And if UCSD, if they beat Michigan on Thursday, they play on Saturday as well. So this week could be very, very special for the college basketball scene here, for the men's and women's side. And even if it's not, even if everybody loses, I still take nothing away from the accomplishments of all programs. And I just think it's cool for the entire city to have not just one, but 4 teams in the tournament, for 2 for the men, 2 for the women. I think it's great. And you know, in a world, like I saw this on social media, there's a world out there. Well, it could be this one where UCSD can play San Diego State in the Elite Eight. That is an actual possibility out there. That is an actual possibility that these 2 programs, UCSD and San Diego State, now San Diego State's got some work to do. So does UCSD as well, where they could play each other in the Elite Eight. I'm not putting too much money on that. I'm not betting a lot of my money that would happen, but I think that it's a cool possibility that it's out there. I think that is something, if it were to happen, would be, that'd be next level.
Well, it's one of the good things about the tournament is I remember forever there was like Ohio State and Xavier had like this thing going on to where Xavier always wanted to play Ohio State, but Ohio State would never want to play them. So then you would get tournaments where it would just work out to where they would end up playing each other and you'd get the game that everyone wanted for a long time. Mm-hmm. And this is another one of those scenarios to where, you know, we could get this game, you know, and what'd you say? It would be Sweet 16 or Elite 8?
It'd be Elite 8.
Elite 8. So yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Like I said, I'm not going to hold my breath on it, but
I'm not cool. Either. I'm not either. But just the fact that possibility is out there, I think is really cool. And now they've played one time before this year. Obviously, it was the opener here at VA House Arena. San Diego State beat the Tritons 63-58. But still, I think it's just a really, really cool accomplishment. And to have it all happen in the same year, both the men's and women's teams from both San Diego State and UCSD are in the tournament at the same time. Like that to me, as I said, if you're a college basketball fan in this town, this week's gonna be awesome for you. This week is gonna be just awesome. And even if none of these teams made it, this week is still awesome because it's March Madness. All right, coming up next, the Padres, they announced their opening day starter. It is Michael King. Why wasn't it Dylan Cease? We'll hear from Mike Schilt and Michael King coming up next on Jon and Jim. All right, this update is brought to you by Rapid Radios. We'll start with the Aztecs. The men's team, they're going to play North Carolina tomorrow night at 6:10 p.m. Pregame starts at 5 p.m. with tip-off at 6 with Uncle Teddy right here on San Diego Sports 760. UCSD, the men's side is going to take on Michigan on Thursday at 7. The women's side will take on Southern on Wednesday at 6 p.m. in the first 4. And the Aztecs women's team will take on number 3 LSU On Saturday night at 7:15, SDFC picked up another point at home this past Saturday night against Columbus Crew in a 1-1 draw. And Mike Schilt today named Michael King as the Padres opening day starter against the Braves. Rapid Radio is our instant push to talk walkie-talkies, offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever, perfect for instant contact with an aging parent. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com and you'll get an extra 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off. All right, back here on Jon and Jim. Jon is now with us, live from Dayton. I didn't know if I should bring us out or if you wanted to bring us out because you're going to be here.
No. You're doing the show. I'm kind of like a vagabond today, like all over the place, kind of all over the place. So made it to Dayton though with San Diego State. So we're in Dayton.
Oh, that's why you're in Dayton.
Yeah, it's not for the Dayton 500 or whatever I told you earlier.
The Daytona.
Today.
That's the Daytona 500.
Oh, is that the Dayton 500?
No. I don't think there's many races in Dayton, Ohio. Maybe I'm wrong, but anyway. So how was the flight?
Anyway,
how was the flight?
The flight was good, and obviously it's a pretty quick turnaround, dude. It reminds me of last year when they went from Spokane after they won the round of 32, and then they came back to San Diego for maybe a day, and then they went to Boston, and that was a tough turnaround to play UConn. There just wasn't a lot of time in there, and this is probably even more like tight from Selection Show Sunday. I think you and I were texting. I mean, the general assumption, I don't know if you talked about it in the first 30 minutes of the show or not, like there was this assumption they were going to play Wednesday. Yeah. Because you saw that their opponent was a Friday game, Ole Miss in Milwaukee. So like, oh, well, if they're playing Friday, then this game will be Wednesday. But it's all about TV, and I think North Carolina has a lot to do with it. You're basically kicking off the tournament with North Carolina, so they're going to play it on Tuesday. But I mean, that's a lot of travel for San Diego State, not a lot of practice time, but better to be in the tournament than out of it. And I'm excited for tomorrow night. Really am. Yeah. So I've given my thoughts. I think it's great for the program. I said, and I stand by it, I don't care. And I didn't care where they were going to land. All I cared about is their name being called, whether it be a first four matchup or a 12 seed or 11, wherever. It didn't matter to me where they were going to be slotted as long as their name got called. And I think it's great for the program. I think you would obviously agree with that, right? Oh, I mean, 100%. I mean, I see so much. I think you and I see similar stuff on social media, but I probably see even more because I do all the post-game shows and I see the text line each and every game. And I was like assured by some quote-unquote fans that this team wasn't heading to the NCAA tournament. And like everyone had all the answers before the selection committee had the answers. Like, again, it's not as people think that they have the answers, but we didn't know about bid stealing, and it worked out. You know, it wasn't easy to get in, and maybe they got in by, you know, a couple of teams in the end, but there's no comparison. You can't compare playing in the NCAA tournament to playing in any other event. And I saw some stuff like on message boards and social, like, wouldn't you rather get to like the Final Four of the NIT than playing the first four? No, what are you talking about? I mean, that's like, you can't even think about it like that at all. I mean, there's been teams to go from the first four to the Final Four. We've seen San Diego State, you know, a couple of years ago, they hadn't won exactly UCLA, VCU. I mean, the Aztecs a couple of years ago hadn't won an NCAA tournament game under Brian Dutcher. Then they win 5 games and get to a national championship game. So it's March Madness. It's unpredictable. I don't think it's going to be easy against North Carolina, but man, the opportunity to play UNC to kick off the NCAA tournament is like a once in a lifetime opportunity for this team. Yeah, they're not playing. Give me some random school, John, like Southern PA of Fallbrook or something. That's a good point. I mean, there's teams that have had good years that aren't necessarily brands. Like, let's say Drake. You know, Drake is in the tournament. They went 30-3. Mm-hmm. If they were playing Drake tomorrow night in a, you know, first 4 11 seed versus 11 seed game, it wouldn't have the same feel, I think, for probably a lot of fans. But they're playing the North Carolina Tar Heels, the bluest of blue bloods. I mean, look at their uniform. The originator of the Jordan brand, the Argyle stripe down the side of the uniform. And that's a cool opportunity in itself. I mean, look at it this way. In 2022, North Carolina lost the national championship to Kansas. R.J. Davis was on that team. He's still there. In 2023, the Aztecs lost the national championship game to UConn. You have 2 teams that have played national championship games since 2022. I just think it's a really, really cool opportunity. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think North Carolina's got incredible athletes. I think RJ Davis is a terrific guard. But I'm really excited to see it and see the arena and see San Diego State back in the NCAA tournament with this young team and see what happens from here on out.
Yeah, because to your point, if they did play Drake, right? They beat Drake. They didn't beat anybody, right?
Right.
They lose to Drake. Can't believe you lost to Drake. Now, I think the same could be held here because we both agree North Carolina should not have been in this tournament. Like the fact that they're in and the optics of it, like I always say, the perception is reality. The perception here is that the committee did a solid for North Carolina, right? They put them in this tournament because the head of the selection committee is the AD at North Carolina, and they didn't want to do him dirty here and take out North Carolina. Now they do have a good net, but you look at some of their other metrics, it just doesn't match up to the other teams that they were, vying for as far as making this tournament, and they're on the bubble.
That's why, like when people think they know what team is in or what team is out, it's like you truly have to wait because there's typically a surprise or two, and then a lot of it was contingent on bid stealing. I would say this: no matter whether UNC, earned it with their resume and their metrics, now that they're in, they're fully capable. Yep. It's like now that you've been given this opportunity with this team that has returned a lot from last year and has won at a high level, obviously in recent history. But yeah, I mean, they got athletes everywhere. I mean, they have 4-star this and 5-star that. So, I mean, they have the talent. They've got a relatively clean resume. I mean, yeah, they were 1-12 in quad one, but they didn't lose any other game. So, I think it's gonna be a very good game. I know UNC's maybe a 3 or 3.5 point favorite right now. I think we talked about this Friday. Now that the Aztecs are in, I feel like the dynamic has changed where they can play free and loose and give their best punch. Whatever happens, happens. It's like you were trying your damnedest to get into this event, right? You're kind of holding on and you're trying to, win that game against Boise State, but Boise needed it as well. Now that you're in, whatever happens from here, I'm not saying it's fully house money, but now that they're in, it's like you've reached a significant goal, reaching the NCAA tournament without Reese Waters, with this young team, with Magon Guth missing 6 games. I think now that you're in, you play free and loose and give it your best effort, and hopefully that'll be enough on Tuesday night.
I agree with you 100%. I also think it's going to be a big boost to have Magon Guth back. Like,
no doubt,
one of the best defensive players in the country, the freshman of the year in the Mountain West Conference and defensive player of the year. I remember, when was it? I think it was in 2021. And the Padres were going through a big time losing streak. And then I remember Eric Hosmer on like a Saturday night had like a team meeting. And then the next day, Fernando Tatis Jr. happens to be returning, and they end up winning that game. And everyone's like, whoa, hold on. It's about the players on the court or on the field. It's not about the rah-rah speech. The same thing here with the Aztecs. Like, Magon Guth back for the Aztecs is a huge thing for them to possibly make some noise here and hopefully get past North Carolina tomorrow. And, without Magon, it would be, and it's still going to be difficult. It's still going to be difficult, but with Magon, you feel a little more confident here going into tomorrow. And like you said, playing free and easy and not having this pressure on them to not lose games like Air Force and San Jose State, right? Like, they got nothing to lose tomorrow night, absolutely nothing to lose. And I think that's going to bode well for them.
Yeah, I mean, Magon could mean everything. And we'll see tomorrow night. It's been a couple of weeks. He's coming off the hyperextended knee. So, we don't know. But his presence alone defensively is a massive dynamic. I mean, he really changes shots. Even when he doesn't block shots, he has offensive players guessing, second guessing. He's able to alter shots. He's just such a big part of it defensively. And then offensively, too. I mean, he really put together a really nice redshirt freshman season. So I don't know if you're coming off a knee injury and you miss 3 weeks and you're going to play 35 minutes. I mean, I'd be surprised at that. But, I mean, even if you play 20 minutes and you impact things at both ends, specifically defensively, and you think about UNC with these terrific guards and their ability to get downhill, Magon Guth in the middle, doesn't allow you, even when you do get downhill, to have an easy choice to make, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just the idea of him being in your mind, I think, is going to be impactful. But you're right. I mean, they've been without Magoon for 6 games. Getting him back, what is that going to mean? What is that going to look like tomorrow night for San Diego State? I am thrilled to see Magoon tomorrow night for the Aztecs on the floor. I mean, that's just a huge boost heading into this event.
And just a reminder, you can hear every single March Madness game right here on San Diego Sports 760, starting tomorrow with the first 4. Our coverage starts at 3:30, so it's going to be a very, very short Jon and Jim show tomorrow. Pregame for the Aztecs game starts at 5 p.m. tomorrow. 6:10 is the tip. Uncle Teddy will be on the call. I'm glad that Ted gets another game.
Absolutely.
I'm glad that Ted is not going to have to go out with a loss against Boise State in the Mountain West Conference Tournament. Now, it might end up being his final game will be tomorrow night, but I hope it's not. But at least Ted gets to call another game in the NCAA tournament with the Aztecs. I think that's huge.
100%. Yeah. I mean, knowing heading into the year that this was going to be his final season, I mean, and to have this young team, I think it's on the front page of San Diego State's game notes, Jim. They returned 8% of their scoring from last year with Reese out. They returned 8%, maybe less, 7 or 8% of their scoring from last year. And that's a credit to Dutch and his staff and the players, obviously. But to get to this spot when you had to replace 93% of your scoring from last year, and you still have an elite defense, and you still have the best field goal percentage defense in America, and you're in the NCAA tournament taking on North Carolina, it's not easy.
No.
North Carolina had to fight tooth and nail to get here. San Diego State did as well. So for Ted to have this opportunity tomorrow night, let's hope this thing keeps rolling into Friday in Milwaukee. That's the hope.
All right, coming up next, the Padres have a opening day starter. It is Michael King. Why is it Michael King? You're going to hear from Mike Schilt coming up next. Back here on Jon and Jim. Jon is in Dayton. I don't know why. Aztecs play tomorrow.
The NCAA Tournament.
I know, you idiot. Padres have.
I was just telling Jim, hold on.
Oh, what do you got?
Because I'm going to be in and out of the show today.
Yeah,
because
awkward.
I'm in Dayton. And I got things to do in addition to the show, Jim.
What are you doing?
Well, I'm conducting some conversations, some interviews, doing some. I'll send you some stuff for social. I got some stuff that I can send you.
Oh, great!
There's an open practice coming up within the next hour for San Diego State. Brian Dutcher's going to speak with the media. Some players will as well. So we'll connect again from UD Arena coming up throughout the course of the show.
Now, through your day of travel, did you see the Padres news of the day?
Is the news that Yuli Gurriel did something?
No, it's not, Jon.
Is the news that we did a wrap-up show last night? We're like, Dylan Cease, formality, opening day starter.
Yeah, wrong.
Actually, it's not. That's not actually accurate, right? It's gonna be Michael King on opening day.
Michael King got named the opening day starter today. I'm not really surprised. Maybe a little surprised, just because Dylan Cease, after pitching yesterday, matches up perfectly with opening day. But I get it. I mean, Michael King had a breakout year last year. His game against the ironically enough, the Atlanta Braves in game 1 of the wild card series last year here at Petco Park, striking out 14 guys. Incredible. So I get it. Both of them deserved it. Not really that surprised, but a little surprised. Just a tad bit surprised.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was slightly surprised. I think he earned it. A lot of this is really just about, it's almost like an award to some extent. Like, it doesn't really matter, right? Over 162, your starting 5 could make a identical number of starts if you want them to. They could all make 30 or 31 or 32 starts. So starting on day 1 as opposed to day 2 has really no impact. It's just, I guess, recognizing an accomplishment, what you have meant to a team or what you mean to a team currently. And I think Michael King earned it. We saw what he did last year in the postseason. I would have said the same thing about Dylan Cease. I think Cease would have earned it based on his regular season. But they need both these guys, Jim. I don't care if they're pitching day 1, day 2, day 21, or 22. They need these guys to carry the load. I really believe that. I think Darvish, you're hoping that he can be effective all year long, but he's 38 years of age. I think Nick Pivetta, you don't know. Had an up and down career. He's been good, but not always great. He's been a workhorse. You're relying on Michael King and Dylan Cease to lead you hopefully towards the postseason in 2025. I think it starts there for the Padres heading into the year, at least from a pitching perspective.
Absolutely. Here was Mike Schilt today talking about the decision to have Michael King as the opening day starter.
All right, so what could you do with it?
That is not Mike Schilt.
Curious?
Whatever.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, by the way. All right. Perfect. Michael King will be our opening day starter. Yeah. And, the reason we got to this, first of all, let's back up. We had 3 really strong candidates for this. Darvish, obviously, Michael, and Dylan. And when we got the rain the day we decided to push Darvish back, I went to you and I said, this can impact your opening day. And it speaks to the teammate that he is and the culture that we have about selflessness and team. And he said, don't worry about that. Michael or Dylan, let them, one of those 2 guys be the opening day starter. I'm okay with it. So I really spoke well about Darvish. So now we got a 2-horse race. And then it literally fell into just the way the days have gone. Michael was a little sick early in camp and got his schedule going in a certain way, and Dylan got his schedule going a certain way, and the schedules have worked out really well. But it lines Michael up, who's well deserving of the open day starter. So he's happy. We're excited for him, and it just puts Dylan on a regular rest that we want to be mindful of. Talked to Dylan this morning about it. Listen, there's other opportunities. Both of them can compete for starting in the All-Star game and pitching in game 1 of the playoffs. So Dylan took it well. Thought, clearly put himself in position for it. But Michael is going to be our opening day starter.
Yeah, I don't think these guys truly care a lot. Like if it was Dylan Cease, I don't think Michael King's sitting there be like, darn it, I wish it was me. Or if you Darvish, like I don't think anybody really cares that much, maybe a little, but at the end of the day, like you said, as soon as you get to this in game 2 of the season, who cares? The rotation is the rotation. And, after that, after opening day, everything becomes just like a routine and you get, every 5th day and you go from there.
You could almost argue like, does it even matter in a best of 3 playoff series if both of them are going to start? Like, let's say King game 1, Cease game 2 in a best of 3. I mean, you could argue the merits one way or the other, but typically you don't even lose sleep over that. If it's Cease in a game 1 of a playoff series and then King in a game 2. So when you talk about 162, it's inconsequential. All it is recognition.
Mm-hmm.
It's an accomplishment. It's opening day. It's special. There's bunting around the ballpark. I'm not talking about Tyler Wade. I'm talking about like the ribbon.
Tyler
bunting
Wade.
Around the ballpark. So it's special. I mean, it's opening day. I mean, everyone has a memory watching, attending, going. Everyone's hopes are high. So it's special. I think that, all things being equal, sure, there's an opening day and then there's Tony Gwynn opening day, and they feel a little different, but you're going to need both of them. You're going to need both of them all season long. They got to be as good as they were last year, because that's going to put the Padres in a position, hopefully, to maybe be as good as they were as a team last year.
All right. So you're on your way to the arena, right?
I am. I literally need to go.
Okay.
The bus is leaving in 6 minutes. I'll catch up with you from the arena.
Okay. Talk to you soon.
Good talk.
Good talk. All right. John is on his way to the arena right now in Dayton. He was right. I mean, it's a very quick turnaround for the Aztecs. And when they initially got announced, it said Wednesday. They even tweeted out Wednesday. And me and John were texting back and forth, and he's like, "Wait, oh crap, it's Tuesday." I go, "No, it's Wednesday." And I was listening to our coverage here on San Diego Sports 760, driving around, coming home from the gym. And even Jason Horowitz goes, "It's Wednesday." And I'm texting John and I'm like, "Dude, the radio just said Wednesday." He's like, "Well, no, it's Tuesday." So I wish it was Wednesday. It would have just made sense, because if they do win tomorrow, Brent, then they would be playing on Friday. And how it goes in at least the first round of games, like you play, day off. If you play, if you win, day off, then you play again. But the Aztecs would then get 2 days off. Maybe that's because of travel. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, it is what it is. They play tomorrow. Very quick turnaround. They're on a plane this morning. They find out where they're going yesterday. They have open practice later today. And then they play tomorrow night in Dayton against North Carolina. Now, North Carolina is dealing with the same thing, so it's not like there's any disadvantage here. And and yes, I'm scared of North Carolina just because they do have, some players that are going to cause problems for the Aztecs. But that heartbreaking loss to Duke, I'm sure everybody in that locker room thought, this is it. Because of that lane violation, we are not making the tournament. You think the Aztecs have nothing to lose? North Carolina really has nothing to lose either. So, like, from that standpoint, them getting, I guess, another chance, that's also going to be a part where I'm like, I don't like that much. But again, I'm glad that, they're in. It's all that matters. We'll talk more about that coming up on the show. Kevin Acee is going to join us at 5 p.m. John is going to join us from the arena during their open practice sometime later in the show. So we'll hear from John about that. But coming up next, because Dylan Cease was not named the opening day starter, are we going to put any thought into potential trade rumors with Dylan Cease? This show. Of course we are. We'll talk about that coming up next. All right, this update's brought to you by Rapid Radios. The Aztecs men's basketball team, they are in. They'll play North Carolina tomorrow night in the first 4 in Dayton. 6:10 tip-off. Our pregame starts at 5 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. UCSD men's and women's teams are also both in the tournament. UCSD men will take on Michigan Thursday at 7 p.m. The CSD women will play Wednesday at 6 p.m. against Southern in the first 4. The San Diego State women's team will play number 3 LSU on Saturday night at 7:15. SDFC picked up another point at home this past Saturday night against Columbus Crew in a 1-1 draw. And Mike Schilt today named Michael King as the Padres opening day starter. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. Perfect for instant contact with an aging parent for a limited time. Go to rapidradios.com and you'll get an extra 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio, get an extra 5% off.
The Aztecs get a taste of the dance.
San Diego State, they're going to face North Carolina.
SDFC staying unbeaten.
Martin closing in, but instead Luca puts it into the 18. Had a goal. Goal from the corner store. Excellent delivery from Luca de la Torre.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, hour 2 on Jon and Jim. Jon in Dayton. He's going to join us a little later from the Aztecs Open practice. Getting ready for North Carolina tomorrow night. Talk to Kevin Acey at 5 p.m. We're 11 days out from opening day. The roster crunch is happening. Kevin, I know, wrote a piece today about just that. Who might make the team, who might not make the team. Very interesting things that Kevin wrote today about some players that are on the bubble, but also maybe leaning towards making the roster than being left off. So we'll talk to Kevin at 5. And Marcelo Balboa, he was on the call on Apple TV Plus for the San Diego FC game this past Saturday. He's going to join us at 4:30. But with Michael King being announced as the opening day starter, of course this show is going to dip into a little bit of conspiracy. Of course we're going to ask the question, what does this mean for Dylan Cease? I personally, if I'm being honest with you, I think it means nothing. I think Dylan Cease will be on this team this year. I don't think Dylan Cease will be traded. I don't think Dylan Cease is going anywhere, nor should he. I said last night on the wrap-up show, that is literally committing seasonal suicide if you traded Dylan Cease this close to opening day. Now, I know one person out there who would love for Dylan Cease to be traded, and especially be traded to either the Yankees or someone else on the East Coast, is my buddy John Heyman. He's wrote more about Dylan Cease on the trade block being a name out there and teams checking on the Padres. He's written more about Dylan Cease being traded in the last 4 days than anything else. He is, if you just look at his timeline on social media, now he has me blocked for some odd reason. Actually, you know what? I'm glad he's blocked me. It's fine. Rightfully deserved, Jim. But he has released, I counted last night, 6 articles in the last 3 days about Dylan Cease and potential landing spots for Dylan Cease. I think he's grasping at straws here. It's almost like he's trying to speak this into existence for, his buddies with the Yankees. I just don't see it happening. Not this close. It'd be stupid. And I'm sure there are probably people out there that when they saw Michael King was announced the opening day starter, their conspiracy antennas went up and immediately thought, oh, what is it? Why not Dylan Cease? Interesting. Now, I think it's just like you have 2 really great options and they chose one and the other will be the game 2 starter. The rotation now will be Michael King, Dylan Cease, Yu Darvish, Nick Pivetta. Now, the fatigue thing with Yu Darvish is a little interesting. I don't think it's anything there either. I really don't. I mean, I get it. The dude's almost 40. When you get to almost 40 years old, you get fatigued very easily. Now, of course, I'm not a professional athlete, but still, I get it. You know, Yu Darvish has been pitching for damn near half his entire life. And spring training is spring training. You go through the motions. You get built up, especially if you're a pitcher. You go out there and throw side sessions. You throw bullpens. Like this, you're ramping up for the regular season. So if he's fatigued, he's fatigued. Dude's been pitching for 20 years. It's fine. Now, if it was an arm injury, if they said he felt something in his shoulder or his arm or his elbow, then it's red alert. But fatigue, it's, to me, it's whatever. And I kind of how I view the Dylan Cease stuff. To me, it's just noise right now, right? Like, is Dylan Cease on the trade block? Yeah, probably. But he's not going anywhere. I mean, all these guys are on the trade block, theoretically. You know, I am pretty confident that AJ Preller has talked to multiple teams this offseason about multiple players on his roster. So with that being said, that means the guys he's been talking about with other teams this offseason, probably not to an extent of like getting down to almost trading these guys, but that technically means those guys are on a quote unquote trade block. And to trade Dylan Cease this close to the season, like I said, that is just suicide for your season before it even starts. The fan base would be pissed. It's an awful look for John Seidler coming in. The first move you make, you trade Dylan Cease before the season starts. I don't think there's any justifying it right now, unless you got back an absolute haul. But even then, I'm like, who are these players? If in this theoretical trade scenario, are these guys going to be all better than Dylan Cease? In the moment, probably not. So to trade him right now just makes absolutely no sense. And I don't even think it's even a story, even though John Heyman is trying to make it into one. It's just not. It's just not. Dylan Cease ain't going anywhere. The only time Dylan Cease will likely go somewhere new is if this team sucks at the trade deadline or at the end of the year. Dylan Cease is gone after this season. Like, I don't know if you guys know that, but Dylan Cease ain't returning. And with that, I think, like I've said from the beginning, like, you keep Dylan Cease on this roster, you try to win now. It would be stupid to trade for him in this moment, coming off of what they did last year. If they're in a rebuild stage, absolutely. You know, if they're the White Sox, like 100%, I'd be kind of upset. Actually, not kind of. I would be upset if they didn't trade Dylan Cease if they were the White Sox. But they're not. They're a team that is absolutely, if they stay healthy, going to contend. They have a top four in the rotation that I really, really like. I think the Nick Pivetta move, albeit came at the end of the offseason and the start of spring training, I think that's a sneaky good pickup by the Padres that is going to, you know, pay dividends for them this year. And so then to just kind of like blow that all up and at the very last moment, right before the season starts, you trade Dylan Cease. Nah, I just don't see that happening. And if it does happen, then I'll rip Preller because I think it's stupid. But right now, going into the season, I don't think you can take anything away from the fact that Michael King was named the opening day starter over Dylan Cease. And because of this means that they're going to be looking to trade Dylan Cease. Because obviously, why would you name a guy the opening day starter if you're going to trade him? You would just name another dude the opening day starter. But in this case, I just don't buy it at all. Like, at all. It means nothing to me. It's not even like a blip on my radar as far as, not even close. Dylan Cease will be on this team come opening day. Michael King will be on this team come opening day. I'm sure Robert Suarez obviously will be on this team opening day, as well Luis Arraez. Those are the 4 guys that, if this team does suck at the deadline, should be traded. But until then, you keep them on the roster, you try to compete, you go all in, and it's pedal to the metal, man. It is, you're going 100 miles an hour out the gate. The first half is so important. You have to stick around. You have to play good baseball. You cannot, at the deadline, be viewed as a seller or a team that is like 6 or 7 games out of a playoff spot. Now, I don't think that's going to happen, obviously, because of the extra wild card, and we'll get to that bridge if and when that bridge comes. But right now, Dylan Cease on this roster, not going anywhere. It means nothing to me. And it shouldn't mean anything to you that he wasn't named the opening day starter and Michael King was. That's kind of how I view this thing right now. And I'm okay with it. I'm more than okay with it. I think Michael King absolutely deserved to get the opening day nod. Dylan Cease deserved it as well. But there's only one opening day. And only one guy can start. And to me, once we get to good old Tony Gwynn opening day, then it's just you're just into it. I'm not gonna say you go on autopilot, but it's like you go on a routine autopilot if you're a baseball player after opening day. It's just okay, routine, every fifth day, every 6th day, depending on off days and everything. But after opening day, these guys go into routine autopilot. And so the opening day starter, it's like a cool thing to announce, right? Like, did you see, just switching gears real quick, Brent, did you see what the Pittsburgh Pirates did, speaking of opening day starters?
Well, I assume it's Paul Skeens.
Well, you would assume correctly.
Unless they don't open at home.
No, I don't know where they open up, but their social media team, because this is something that like social media teams, they love this stuff. They have graphics ready. They have video ready to post. Like they're just waiting and dying for anything to be announced as far as like opening day starters go for their teams.
They open in Miami.
Well, Paul Skeens will be opening in Miami for the Pittsburgh Pirates, but I thought it was hilarious the other day. The Pirates put out a tweet of Paul Skeens. I don't know who their manager is.
Nobody does.
Yeah, exactly. Who cares? Getting told by their manager, like in a somber way, trying to like joke with him that he was going to be the opening day starter, like opening up the conversation with like, "Hey man, I need you to sit down." Like something bad's about to happen. Like I'm Paul Skeens. You're not going to cut me? You're going to start me in the minors? I've been traded? Like what? And they made this big thing like, "Hey man, you're the opening day starter." Yeah, no S, bro. Like the sky is blue. Water is wet. Paul Skeens, the opening day starter for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
The funny thing about that is when we hear from King later in the show, he brought up that he got called into Schilte's office by Ruben, and they kind of made it sound somber, like something was wrong, like they were trying to do the same thing to him. But you might be able to pull that off like with King. Skeens, it's like, no, everyone knows he's the day one starter. There's no doubt about it to where you're gonna be like, "Sorry, Paul, you had a pretty good year last year, but we're gonna go with this dude instead."
We'll hear from Michael King coming up later in the show. Marcelo Balboa, MLS, Apple TV. He was on the call on Saturday night. He's going to join us at 4:30. Kevin Acey's joining us at 5. But I was at the SDFC match on Saturday, and I wasn't the only one there. Obviously, the crowd was awesome, 30,000 plus. It was a great atmosphere, but half the Padres team showed up. We'll talk about that coming up next. but I didn't know this, that the regular season starts in about 12 hours, Brent. I obviously I knew the Dodgers and the Cubs were in Japan to open up the season, like the Padres and Dodgers last year in Seoul, Korea. But it's tomorrow morning, 3 a.m. Remember that? That was fun, but also very exhausting. Tomorrow, Mookie Betts, he's out for the Dodgers because he's dealing with a sickness. But yeah, the glazing of the Dodgers will commence tomorrow morning at 3 a.m., especially the glazing of Shohei Ohtani in Japan and Roki Sasaki and Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Dennis had an interesting piece today on Roki Sasaki. Him and Ken Rosenthal did. I didn't get to finish reading it, but the gist of it was about I don't want to say shadiness, but MLB teams not too thrilled with Roki Sasaki and his representation, agency, so to say. How the usage of teams such as the Toronto Blue Jays, from a standpoint of them being in Roki's final three, where that was a complete joke. He was never going to the Blue Jays, and he was never coming to San Diego. He was always going to the Dodgers, and they had to create and paint a picture of other teams having a legitimate chance at him, and how rival executives thought that was complete BS. Which it was. I mean, looking at hindsight, obviously looking at this whole thing, yeah, complete BS. And it was a joke. So if you're so inclined, go search out Dennis and read that article today about Roki Sasaki and how the fix was in from the beginning, and it was an absolute joke. And we now move on, even though he's still, to me, considered an ex. And yes, I am that bitter ex with Roki Sasaki. I'm sorry. I just won't get over it. I don't think I'll ever get over it until I see Manny Machado hit a 3-run home run in the first inning off Roki Sasaki here at Petco Park. That will make me feel a lot better. And I'm sure that will make a lot of Padres fans feel a lot better as well. Speaking of Manny, did you see this, Brent? So on Saturday night, second ever home match for SDFC. The crowds have been incredible. Over 30,000 at the match on Saturday. Damn near 35,000 at their opener a couple weekends ago. Broke the record for largest crowd for a sporting event at Snapdragon. And I get text from Darren about 3 hours before the match. And he tips me off. He goes, "Get ready for tonight." I was like, "What are you talking about?" And probably 30 minutes later, you start seeing stuff come out on social media and on Instagram. Oh, Manny's on a private jet. And not only is Manny on a private jet, he's got Joe Musgrove, he's got Luis Ariz, he's got Fernando Tatis Jr., Jackson Merrill, Adrian Morhone, the Jason Hayward, and they're all making their way to the SDFC match because they were the honorary, I guess, I think they're calling it the flow ball, but it's they were the honorary, I guess, guests at the game, because there's now a new tradition before every single SDFC match where they have this giant soccer ball that looks like the SDFC logo, and they have first match was Manny. This match was Joe Musgrove bringing it out along with all the other Padre players. And I guess, they dropped the inaugural puck at hockey games, right? The guy goes out, they drop the puck. First pitches in baseball, right? They don't have anything in basketball, but what SDFC is doing is kind of taking a play off of the first puck and the first pitch and having somebody present this flow soccer ball at the middle of the field before the start of the matches. And than having the big fireworks display and the big Jumbotron package and the big SDFC flow, signage. So it's a big thing. That's like kind of what they're doing to start these matches now, and it's going to become a tradition for them. And I think it's pretty cool. Like they'll have celebrities and whatnot presenting this flow soccer ball to start matches. And so you had all these Padres players there. They're in the suites and, social media. They're Luis Ariz and Fernando Tatis Jr. Tatis had a blast. Like nobody had more fun at the SDFC game on Saturday night than Fernando Tatis Jr. That guy was posting videos and going on his Instagram lives, and you could tell that he was having the time of his life.
Did he leave his shirt on?
He did leave his shirt on.
That's good.
But they all got special jerseys made. They were on the field. There was this huge thing on social media, right? Crickets from the Padres. Now, I've been kind of like at the forefront of this, slam my fist on the table. Why aren't the Padres acknowledging other sports teams in town? Why the Padres feel like they're so insecure to mention anything other than themselves in this town? And I was like, oh, for sure they're going to mention something. I mean, you got freaking damn near half your team there. Yeah, nothing. I think they might have commented on something on Instagram with like a heart emoji, like a heart eyes emoji. But other than that, nothing. And it's a bummer. I mean, it's not going to be the end all. I mean, Jon doesn't care. I get it. But I think it would have been really cool if, I don't know, they supported and acknowledged the other sports teams in town. That's just me. I mean, it's not like a foreign concept. You see it happen in so many other markets for way bigger franchises than the Padres. It's not all franchises. I get it. Not everybody does it, but a lot do. A lot. And I think the one thing about San Diego that you could really hit home with is the sense of community and how everybody in this town, feels like the togetherness, right? San Diego is very protective of its own. And for the Padres just to be like, yeah, whatever. I think I don't like it. It's not the end all be all, but it does kind of come off as like, I'm not going to say douchey, but it does kind of come off as being like a tad bit insecure from the feeling of it. Like you can't acknowledge. I mean, everybody else in this town's acknowledging them, sports teams, but you can't acknowledge it. And I'm not the only one with this opinion, by the way. I mean, I've seen a lot more on social media from fans being like, hey, Padres, are you ever going to acknowledge SDFC? Are you ever going to acknowledge anybody else's existence in this town but your own? Yeah, the answer to that is probably not. And over our dead bodies. Kevin AC is going to join us at 5 p.m. Jon is on his way to the practice right now, open practice for San Diego State. But coming up next, we'll dive more into the brackets. It's bracket season. How many brackets have you filled out? We'll talk about that coming up next. All right, this update is brought to you by Rapid Radios. We'll start with the Aztecs. They'll take on North Carolina tomorrow in the first 4 in Dayton. 6:10 tip-off. 5 p.m. is when our pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. UCSD men's and women's teams are also in the tournament as well. UCSD will take on Michigan on the men's side Thursday at 7 p.m. On the women's side, they'll take on Southern at 6 p.m. on Wednesday in the first 4. And SDSU women will take on number 3 LSU at 7:15 on Saturday night. SDFC picked up another point at home this past Saturday night against Columbus in a 1-1 draw. And Mike Schilt today named Michael King as the Padres opening day starter against the Braves. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. Perfect for instant contact with an aging parent. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com and you'll get an extra 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off. All right, we got a lot to get to today. The wrap still to come. Also, we're going to talk to Marcelo Balboa from Apple TV MLS. He was on the call on Saturday night at Snapdragon Stadium. He was on with us last week as well. Kevin Acey at 5 p.m. Also Trainwreck Radio. We have a couple giveaways, Brent. We have a $50 gift card to Windmill Farms. Also, we have a pair of tickets to see Rise Against, and Papa Roach. Sorry, my bad. I thought that was a typo. My bad.
I was like, what? We have Rage tickets.
I thought that was Rage Against the Machine. I just read it very quickly. I thought it was a typo. Rise Against
and Papa Roach. So
we'll give away the $50 gift card to Windmill Farms during Trainwreck Radio. And then later in the show, we'll give away a pair of tickets to see Rise Against and Papa Roach March 26th at Gallagher Square. What do you got, Brent?
Are you starting to feel like a good luck charm now opposed to what you were before? Well, you went to the Aztec game and they won. San Diego FC has not lost at all the games that you've gone to.
Now they haven't won,
but they haven't lost either, though.
Exactly. So
most sports that would be bad, but not in soccer. That's good.
Yes, picking up points by any means necessary is the main objective in soccer. Whether it be a draw, preferably a win. And they're now second in the Western Conference, all alone. Right now with let me just pull this up. I think they have 9 points. Yeah, let me look at the table here. They're second in the Western Conference. They have 8 points. My bad. So they remain undefeated. They are just the second expansion franchise in MLS history to be unbeaten through their first 4 matches of play. I think, if you were to ask, how would you draw up the start of your season to anybody in San Diego FC's offices? Obviously you would love to start with 4 straight wins. That'd be amazing. But to be picking up points in every single one of your matches and, winning both of your road matches and looking pretty good in every single match so far, I think it's been a fantastic start for this club. And I think the energy around the club as well. I've been to both home matches so far, and usually it's like, okay, we know opening days are going to be electric. We know that Petco's going to sell out on opening day. Now, the good thing about the Padres is they've created a culture and they have created a fan base over the last, 6-7 years that it's not just opening day that is a sellout. It's the opening weekend is a sellout. Majority of their games are sellouts. They're going to draw damn near 3 million fans again at Petco Park. So, the Padres have really nailed it as in the last, 5-6 years here by, obviously acquiring players and signing players and making trades. And, oh, by the way, being good, which is the main thing. Like when you're good, they will come. And so I was curious to see what it was going to be like at Snapdragon on, match day 4, home match number 2, 30,000 plus. The supporters groups were going wild. They scored a goal at home, which was great. They scored 3 goals. 2 of them were brought back because they were offsides. And for the last 30 minutes of that match, they were playing with a man up because Columbus drew a red card. So, that was a big reason why they scored there in the 69th minute, because they were at a man advantage from the 61st minute to the end of that match. Damn near a half hour. They had an extra man on the field, and they were just on the attack, and they just could not push past another goal, which was unfortunate. But the style of play that they've had, if you're not into soccer, I get it. But what this team has done to the first 4 matches is from a if you're looking for excitement, yes, you're never going to get a game where it's like 10-9, but they're always on the attack. Like, they're always in their opponent's field. They're always creating chances. It might not always work, but at any moment, if you look away, there could be a moment where, because they're attacking so much, that they score a goal, and they had 2 goals that were offsides, and the crowd it was like one of those, it was a blue ball situation. It was definitely blue balls in the match on Saturday, because of they scored a goal, the crowd goes crazy, and then they bring it back because they're offsides. They score a goal, they bring it back because the SDFC was offsides. Finally, they score a goal from a corner, and the crowd erupts, and the atmosphere was great. So if they got that out of the way, they scored a goal at home. Now they just got to win a game at home. But all in all, so far, I think it's been a home run for SDFC. The environment, the excitement level, the style of play that they've had, staying unbeaten to their first 4 matches, the buzz that they've had, I feel like they could not have asked for a better start. So they will play this Saturday on the road, match day number 5, and they will take on Austin, 1 p.m. Did I say Saturday? I meant Sunday. Sunday afternoon at 1 p.m. Of course, you can listen to that match right here on San Diego Sports 760. Adrian Garcia Marquez on the call, along with Darren Smith. So pregame starts at noon. We'll cut into March Madness coverage, but we are the home of SDFC, so you'll be listening to San Diego FC on Sunday afternoon. All right, coming up in the show today, still a lot to get to. Kevin Acey's at 5. We have John's going to be joining us from Dayton. I don't know when, but he'll be joining us from their practice. Coming up, we also have the wrap as well. And then we'll hear from Michael King. Michael King named the opening day starter today for the Padres over Dylan Cease. A little bit of surprise, but we're going to hear from Michael King later in the show. It is now officially bracket season. How many brackets have you filled out so far, Brent, if any?
0.
Will you fill out any brackets?
Maybe 1.
What is wrong with you?
I just don't get into the brackets too much anymore. It's like fantasy football. I just haven't done it the last couple of years.
Okay. I was like that a couple years ago. I don't know what has flipped that switch for me this year, but I've already filled out 5.
See, there has to be a limit. Now, do you fill out the same bracket in each one you enter in, or do you do a different bracket each time? Usually
I have one bracket one way and then another bracket completely different. And then I might change up my national champion and the others. But I try not to make them the same, but I have, I think, let's see here. Let me look. So I filled out 5 brackets. I have Florida winning in 2 of them. I have Houston winning in another. I have Duke winning in another. And then I have Auburn winning in another. So I've covered all bases here with my number 1 seeds.
Well, that's why I laugh, because I have a friend who does 12 every year, but then he'll sit there and brag about it. It's
brackets.
Of course you're doing good. You filled out 12 of them, and each one of them is different. So if one of them is bound to hit, it's like, stop acting like you're Nostradamus or something.
I mean, look, they don't put a cap on this thing. You can fill out as many as you want. I'm sure there are people out there that fill out 20 brackets. That to me is a little too much. Like, I think I might stop here at 5 because I 5's a lot to keep track of. But I mean, one of my brackets, I do have UCSD and San Diego State facing off in the Elite Eight. Because of course, why not? Duh. I got to have at least one bracket with that matchup. I know UCSD is like the hot commodity pick right now in the 12-5 matchups, because every year it's like, what 12 seed's gonna to make that run in the tournament? There's always a 12 seed. It feels like the Tritons are the trendy pick this year. John Fanta, we love John Fanta. He is the GOAT. He's got them in the Elite Eight, Brent. John Fanta's got the UCSD Tritons in the Elite Eight. Now, he does have San Diego State losing to North Carolina tomorrow, which I don't like, John. I thought we were friends here, buddy. But if UCSD makes a run here and gets past the first weekend and is into the Sweet 16, whew, I mean, think about that. The last 3 years here in San Diego, you have a team going to the national championship game. You have a team going into the Sweet 16 for back-to-back years. And then if UCSD makes some noise, or San Diego State, I mean, both could make noise. Imagine that. Both teams in the Sweet 16, that would just be incredible. Would be incredible. All right, coming up next, you're going to hear from Michael King on his thoughts on being the opening day starter. Kevin Acee at 5 p.m. All that coming right here on Jon and Jim. Padres are playing, like this afternoon. I honestly did not realize that they were playing this afternoon against the Brewers, and that the game's still going on, and it's the middle of the seventh, or no, we just now are headed to the bottom of the seventh inning, and they're up 9-7 over the Brewers. Yeah, I had no clue, like absolutely none. So I haven't even checked this box score yet to see what's going on in spring training. And as I look at it right now, it looks a mess. It looks an absolute mess. You had the regulars out there today. But as far as the pitching goes, Jason Adam threw an inning, gave up 2 hits and a run. Jeremiah Estrada pitched an inning, scoreless inning, 2 strikeouts. You know, it's funny. I put on social media, Brent, that Jason Adam should be the Padres closer. And ever since I put that out there on social media, he has gone out there and given up runs in every one of his appearances in spring. That is me being, the jinx that I am. Now, you said I might have turned things around as far as going to the games go, because when I went to the Aztec game against Nevada, they blew them out. First 2 home matches for SDFC. They didn't pick up the wins, but they did pick up points to remain undefeated. So yeah, I haven't even looked at this box score today. I do think one thing in this box score that we could talk about here is the fact that Yuli Gurriel, he had a nice day. That's not what I'm mentioning Yuli Gurriel. You know, he had 4 RBI today. He had a double and a home run. That's great. He's been actually kind of decent in spring. He's at 296 in spring training. That's not why I want to talk about Yuli Gurriel. What I want to talk about with Yuli Gurriel is the fact that Kevin wrote about the bubble guys and mentioned the fact that Yuli Gurriel has a real possibility to make this opening day roster, because apparently he's got some real supporters inside the organization that think that I guess a guy with pop and veteran leadership, or not even just leadership, just being a veteran, would be good for this team. Let me remind you, this guy has not hit over 12 home runs in the last however many years. I mean, he's not a power guy by any stretch. He's not. He's had 1 good season when you're looking at his power numbers. Last year he didn't hit any. Last year, what did he do last year? Actually, he was worse. He sucked last year. As I say, 12 home runs. I might have been looking somewhere else. Yeah, he had no home runs. He had 4 home runs in 2023. He had 8 home runs in 2022. He had 15 in 2021, 6 in 2020. And then his breakout year was 2019, 31 home runs. So if you're saying that this guy's a power guy, dude has not been a power guy for the last 5 years.
He's due.
He's due. Yeah, he's due. Now, I would honestly, if you were to ask me right now, Tyler Wade or Yuli Gurriel, I would pick Yuli Gurriel over Tyler Wade. I don't think Tyler Wade brings any on-field value to this team. Maybe a little, as far as like he can play multiple positions. But guess what? You have a bunch of guys on this roster that can play multiple positions. Tyler Wade, because he runs the bases well. Well, you know what? Every baseball player should run the bases well. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, oh man, the way he rounds second base. Like, what? Okay, you can play 6 different positions. Okay. But other than that, I mean, the only reason why he's being considered for a roster spot is because he's a quote unquote vibes guy. To me, you need to have some legitimate bats on that bench. And by legitimate, I mean better than Tyler Wade. And for me, everybody's better than Tyler Wade. Except for Martin Maldonado. But again, Tyler Wade's not a catcher. Even though he tried to be last year, he's like, I'll be the emergency catcher. He's the classic guy that I'll do anything to be involved. You're like, no, you know what? Go sit in the corner. We don't need you. But as of right now, Jason Hayward is looking more like every single day that he'll become the starting left fielder. Why he's just given that spot, I mean, I don't know. He's had an awful spring. Now, he was on Manny's private jet. So I feel like if you were on Manny's private jet, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to be on the squad. Tyler Wade was not on Manny's private jet. If I'm Tyler Wade, I'm like, what the hell, bro? If I'm Connor Joe, I'm like, where's my invite, Manny? If I'm Martin Maldonado or Luis Campusano, right? Guys that are trying to fight for a roster spot. Where's my invite on the private jet, Manny? So if you made the private jet, you're probably pretty safe. You're probably going to make this team. So if I'm Jason Hayward, I'm like, oh, dude, I got the private jet invite. I am so on this team this year, at least at the start. Now, will he make it through the entire season? Odds are right now to me 50-50. Like, I feel like he's more closer towards a Nelson Cruz type of year than a Jerkson Profar type of year. So we'll talk to Kevin about that coming up at 5 p.m. The all-important bench pieces. But I do think that starting the year with a bench consisted of, and I've said this, to me, I would have on my bench, I would put Luis Campusano over Martin Maldonado. That's how I would do the backup catcher. Even though Schulte thinks Martin Maldonado is the second coming of Yadier Molina. I would have Jose Iglesias on my team on the bench. I would put Gavin Sheets on my bench. I think left-handed pop, I think that is valuable. And the way in spring training he's been playing, I think he's earned a roster spot. I think Connor Joe's on my bench. And if you said Yuli Gurriel or, who else? Brandon Lockridge, okay. But right now, Tyler Wade, sorry, buddy. There's really not a spot for you. So we'll talk to Kevin more about that coming up at 5 p.m. Coming up next, though, we have the wrap, also Trainwreck Radio next hour as well. And John will be joining us live from the Aztecs Open practice in Dayton. More Jon and Jim coming up next. All right, this update is brought to you by Rapid Radios. The Aztecs are in. They'll take on North Carolina tomorrow night at 6:10 p.m. 5 p.m. is when our pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. UCSD men's and women's team are also in the tournament. UCSD will take on Michigan Thursday at 7 p.m. The women's team will take on Southern in the first four on Wednesday night at 6 p.m. And San Diego State women, they'll play Saturday at 7:15 against number 3 LSU. SDFC picked up another point at home this past Saturday night against Columbus in a 1-1 draw. And Mike Schilt today named Michael King as the Padres opening day starter against the Braves. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. Perfect for instant contact with an aging parent for a limited time. Go to rapidradios.com and you'll get an extra 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off.
It's Jon and Jim to warm up that drive home.
All that I cared about was San Diego State just getting their name called. I didn't care about seeding. I didn't care about first four. I didn't care if they were a 16 seed, even though they wouldn't have been. But I just didn't care. All that mattered was that their name got called. And now you can say for the last 5 years, the Aztecs have been in the NCAA tournament.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, hour 3 of Jon and Jim. Jon is in Dayton right now. The Aztecs, I assume, are practicing. They'll be talking to the media as well. So Jon's going to join us sometime later in the show. Kevin Acey at 5 p.m. Also, we have Trainwreck Radio at 4:45, giving away some tickets. Should we give away tickets there, Brent, or should we give away a $50 gift card to Windmill Farms? You decide. All right. So Brent will decide what we give away for Trainwreck Radio. Also, Marcelo Balboa. He was on the call for the SDFC match on Saturday on Apple TV Plus. He's going to join us at 4:30. But right now, Brent, let's get to this.
It's time for the wrap, presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
And the most rhetorical rap question ever. Is tomorrow a must-win game for the Aztecs?
No, I'm glad you asked that, Brent, because I do have a hot take here. Yes, tomorrow is a must-win game. I had to ask. I mean, we had to ask it. It's been our bit forever. It's mostly Jon's bit. So I'm doing it in honor of Jon because he's in Dayton right now. Yeah, it's a must-win tomorrow night. And I do think that it's going to be a very tough matchup for San Diego State. But the cool thing is, like, if you're not a North Carolina fan, you're rooting for San Diego State tomorrow night. Like, the entire country, other than Tar Heel fans, will be rooting for San Diego State because everybody feels the same way. North Carolina should not be in this tournament. They got a... I'm not going to say favor, but it feels like the books were cooked. And the selection committee put them in over teams like Boise and Indiana. And they should not have been there. Their resume does not stack up. It feels like, because the North Carolina AD is the head of the selection committee, that's why they're in. And so the cool thing is, everybody's going to be rooting for San Diego State tomorrow night. But yeah, it's a must-win game. It's absolutely a must-win game. Brent, next question.
Who will go farther in the tournament? UCSD or San Diego State?
I should have prefaced by saying on the men's side. But on the men's side, man, I mean, I would love, and I know everybody else would love, if they played each other in the Elite Eight. That would be incredible. I'm gonna go push here. I think they both go I think they can both win a game, but I don't know if they're going to make it past the first weekend. I would love if they did. It's gonna be very tough. UCSD kind of feels like everybody's Cinderella pick this year for very good reason. I mean, they're one of the best teams in the country. We had Rocco Miller on last week, and all he was doing was gushing about UCSD. It's going to be tough for both, but I think that their journey might end at the same time. So is that a cop-out? Yeah, it is. But I can't pick one or the other. I'm sorry. Again, yes, we are the home of the Aztecs. So for selfish reasons, San Diego State, having a long run here would be great. Also, to keep Ted's career alive, right? To have Ted call, multiple games in March Madness, right? I think that's a storyline that maybe not a lot of people are talking about, that tomorrow could be Ted's final game on the call for San Diego State against North Carolina. I think that's a really cool storyline, and hopefully, the Aztecs beat North Carolina and Ted can continue his broadcasting career into Friday afternoon against Ole Miss. That'd be pretty special. Next question, Brent.
Now, this might be tricky for you because you filled out 40 brackets.
I know.
Who do you have winning the national championship?
Well, because I picked this team multiple times in multiple brackets, I'm going to take Florida. I haven't watched a lot of Florida this year, but at the same time, diving into the tournament head first last night, Florida is really good. Florida's really good. And I don't know why I was doing this last night, Brent. I was watching Florida highlights from this past year, and I'm like, oh my God, they're incredible. So I'm picking Florida. I know that on the, if you're just a casual college basketball fan, you might not heard a lot about Florida. It's been a lot about Duke and Cooper Flagg and Auburn, right? Florida's incredible.
They got a good draw. I'm looking at their side of the bracket now. Second round, they might have to play UConn or Oklahoma, but that pretty much would be their toughest game until they get to the Final Four.
Right. I honestly put anybody in front of Florida. I think Florida can win any game, and they can beat anybody in this tournament. Who do you have winning the national title, Brent? Because you got to get these things in before tomorrow, the first four,
Yeah, I know. Let's see. It won't be a number 1 seed, I don't think, this year. If Jimmy Fallon didn't make that horrible St. John's song, I would almost
you like
maybe
St.
St. John's just for a nostalgia pick. But yeah, I don't know. There isn't really a front runner this year. It's not like, I guess maybe Duke, but who knows with Cooper Flagg's ankle, what kind of shape he's going to be in.
Well, if Cooper Flagg is 100% healthy, I don't think that they're. I don't think that anything less than a Elite Eight for them. I don't see them losing.
I'll say probably Duke.
Yeah, I don't see them losing until at minimum an Elite Eight matchup. But even then, I'm like, Duke and Alabama, if that were to happen, I mean, your Wisconsin Badgers, Brent, are they going to make some noise in this tournament or no? They're a 3 seed in the East Regional.
They could. They should beat Montana, and they could beat either VCU or BYU. So I can see them getting out of the first weekend. Then after that, who knows? Depends if they get Alabama.
Yeah, the East Region, you got St. Mary's is good. Alabama, Wisconsin, Oregon, who San Diego State played this year. Duke. I mean, for me, Duke has, I'm not going to say easy path, but if Cooper Flagg is healthy, minimum they're in the Elite Eight. But I still think Florida, just how they've been playing, I'm like, that team is really good. So I'll take Florida to win the national title this year. And I just put the jinx on them. There you go. Next question, Brent.
Who's going to be the Padres' 5th starter?
Well, there is some injury news out of Padres camp. And that is Matt Waldron has now an oblique injury. Obliques are never something that you're okay with after like a day or two. So that would probably effectively take him out of the 5th starter competition. And I don't think he was in that competition as of a couple of weeks ago anyway. I think he's pitched himself out of that conversation. I've said all along, I think it's going to be Stephen Kolek. I think Kyle Hart is another name to watch as well. Kyle Hart could easily go in the bullpen. Same thing with Stephen Kolek. But as of right now, I'm going to take Stephen Kolek. I just think that he's had a really good spring. I think his stuff, it's starter stuff. I think he has multiple pitches that he could throw. He's not just a one-trick pony. And so I will say Stephen Kolek is the 5th starter coming out of camp. And it's going to fluctuate. Like, do I expect Stephen Kolek or Kyle Hart or whoever is named the 5th starter to be the 5th starter all year long? No. The only way that the 5th starter all year long is if they continue to earn that spot. Like, they're going to have to go out there every 5th or 6th day and earn their next start. I don't envision if Stephen Kolek is named the starter in his first 3 starts, he has a 9 ERA, for the Padres to continue to push him out there every 5th or 6th day. Like, they will have options. So if it is Stephen Kolek, he's going to have to earn damn near almost every start. If it's Kyle Hart, he's going to have to earn every start. If it's Randy Vasquez, he's going to have to earn the next start. That's just how it goes when you're the 5th starter in a rotation. Nothing is guaranteed with the 5th starter. The only thing that's guaranteed probably is the first start, whoever they name. All right, coming up later this hour, we'll get into more SDFC with Marcelo Balboa of Apple TV Plus, and Kevin Acey is going to join us at 5 p.m. And then I guess John, he's just texting me right now. Yeah, I do, John. Yes. All right. So John asked me, want me next segment? Yes, I do. All right. So John is going to join us next segment here, live from Dayton, from the Aztecs open practice today, getting ready for North Carolina. So John's going to join us next. Stay with us right here on Jon and Jim.
All right, so what could you do with an extra $75,000 right now, or even a couple $100,000? If you own a home, you can get that money in less than a week with Loan Pronto. Hey guys, it is Schaefer. Loan Pronto is the leader in quickly converting your home equity into cold hard cash, so you can pay off all your credit cards or start that home remodel. Loan Pronto has several easy options to let you access the cash from your home. There's virtually no paperwork, no cumbersome process, no junk fees, often no appraisal. Listen, the average homeowner now has over $300,000 in equity. That's your money. Use it. One client got $150,000 out and paid off all their credit cards, 2 car loans, and a personal loan, cutting their monthly expenses by $1,500. You can get approved in as little as 1 day. So act now with no hard credit pull up front. LoanPronto.com or 619-207-4336. Get the money you need for anything. 619-207-4336. LoanPronto.com. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
John Schaefer joining us live. Is that courtside? Are you courtside?
Yeah. Do you want me to turn my camera around?
Can you do
for
that?
a second?
Yeah,
Let me
sure.
hear.
So
if you tell me seriously.
If you're watching on YouTube, you can see that John is, I believe, courtside in Dayton.
I believe I am too. Wait, can you see that?
No.
Jeez, I can't either.
Did you set up your camera right? Probably not.
Probably not. Okay, I'm such an idiot. Such an idiot.
He has his computer camera on instead of the other camera. There you go. All right. So
I don't know how much of this I can actually broadcast.
Well, there are fans there, right?
Oh yeah, it is open practice.
Yeah, so it's open practice. So you can.
There's San Diego State for you.
There you go.
Watch it on. This is a good reason to head over to YouTube if you're listening to us on the radio.
Yeah, you go to YouTube and you can. There's JD Wicker. Nice. There's BJ Davis. Yeah. There's Jamie. So the Aztecs now, their open practice is underway. That's pretty cool. I like it. Maybe you should just have your camera facing out towards the open practice while we have you on.
I mean, I would if I don't know if I can or not. Truthfully,
he's so nervous. You're so scared. Turn the camera around.
He's got rules, dude. I know. I'm coming back to me.
Turn the camera around before you get kicked out and we get in trouble and you get your credential revoked and you're never allowed back in like a gym ever again.
Yeah. So yeah, we're in inside Dayton Arena, Jim. And I don't know. Did you talk about this earlier or read the article? North Carolina had travel issues.
I did not see that. No.
Okay. So North Carolina was supposed to already practice today, but they couldn't get out of Chapel Hill for whatever reason.
But
they are here, and I saw a lot of people retweeting this as recently as like 5 or 10 minutes ago.
I didn't see this.
North Carolina's now in the building, so there'll be a game tomorrow night. I promise you that. North Carolina's in Dayton. San Diego State's in Dayton after a long travel day, and I mean, we're just about, 24 hours, right? 9:10 Eastern, 6:10 Pacific. So just over 24 hours out from the Aztecs and the Tar Heels.
Yeah. Pregame starts at 5 tomorrow. It's the late game in Dayton. It's just like a cool feeling knowing that like we don't have to sit here on a Monday and talking about reasons why they didn't make the tournament. You know, like we are fully in. It is fully in it as far as like breaking down now San Diego State and North Carolina tomorrow. I love that whole feeling and not having to stay here and being like, well, this game and this game and this and that. And it's just, you don't have to worry about it is what my point is.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I just heard Brian Dutcher just spoke with the media. So did Miles Bird, Nick Boyd, and Jared Coleman-Jones. And I mean, I think they're all equally appreciative of the opportunity. Like, it's a long year. I mean, you know, the Mountain West, getting through the Mountain West and getting to the NCAA tournament is an accomplishment because not every team is able to do that. And they dealt with Reese Waters being out, and they've dealt with Magon Guth being out. And to get this shot, this opportunity is a pretty cool one. And again, I mean, is Magon going to be what we saw a month ago? That's hard because he's been out for 3 weeks and he's been dealing with a hyperextended knee. But he's going to play tomorrow. I mean, their intent is for him to play tomorrow. What impact does he make? I mean, that's the storyline for me. What is the impact of Magon Guth against North Carolina tomorrow? Because if he's really good, San Diego State, we've seen them play some elite basketball. So he's a big part of the game plan, I would think, tomorrow for San Diego State against North Carolina.
What do you make of the rest of the tournament, rest of the bracket? I mean, I know that you've obviously looked over every single thing.
Yes, I've listened to like 10 podcasts.
Yeah, of course you have. You had plenty of time today to listen to every podcast. What do you make of the whole bracket?
Well, the one thing I like just from a San Diego State perspective for a moment, and we touched on this earlier, I think, is the winner of this game gets the additional day off. Like you think typically a Tuesday winner is going to play Thursday somewhere else and have to travel potentially across the country. That's not the case here. The winner's going less than 400 miles to Milwaukee, and they've got the additional day. They go from Tuesday to Friday. So I think the winner has a clear advantage. In terms of the bracket itself, I'm just looking at like the favorable paths, like for the top seeds. Like, is it Duke? Is it Auburn? Is it Florida? Is it Houston? I was surprised that Houston could get like Gonzaga in a second round in a 1-8 game.
Right.
I was surprised that Houston also, or who was it actually? Excuse me. It was Louisville. Excuse me. Auburn would play Louisville in Lexington, Kentucky in the second round. So the top overall seed in the tournament might have to play Louisville an hour from Louisville in Lexington in the second round. So that surprised me. And then I thought the UC San Diego draw is interesting because Michigan is a big physical team that really rebounds well. And UC San Diego isn't one of those big physical imposing teams, but man, their offense is elite. So it's like styles make fights, and UC San Diego doesn't look like Michigan, but maybe that means it'll be a good first round game. And then also from the Mountain West perspective, New Mexico against Marquette to me is a fascinating game with a couple of top guards in America, Cam Jones at Marquette, Donovan Dent at New Mexico. So, I mean, there's a lot to like about it. It's intriguing. Lamont Butler, is he healthy for Kentucky heading into the tournament? That is a huge storyline heading into the entire tournament as well. So there's a lot. There's a lot to really like. And the beauty of this thing, Jim, is it's impossible to predict. Like, does St. John's make a national championship game or lose to Troy?
Right.
In the first round? That's the beauty of this event. It's just hard to know until they tip off.
Now, were you not surprised, but I mean, Auburn getting the number 1 overall seed, even though how they finished their season? I think Florida could have had a case to be the number 1 overall seed. I think Duke definitely had a case, especially with Cooper Flagg, being announced that he will be back for the NCAA tournament. I mean, yeah, Auburn's obviously really, really good, but the number 1 overall seed, okay. I mean, I guess, sure.
Yeah, I mean, their body of work probably warrants it, but there's never been a team in the history of the NCAA tournament to win a national championship losing 3 of its last 4 games.
Right.
And that's what they did. Now, they played like 1 seeds
That's
in
true.
3 of their last 4 games. But, they're going to have to deal with some adversity. You may remember a year ago, after San Diego State beat UAB, that's when Auburn was upset by Yale in a game that Chad Baker-Mazar was ejected from.
Yeah, I remember that.
And obviously, Chad Baker-Mazar has had I had an ejection within the last 10 days for Auburn. So they got some things they got to overcome mentally because they lost the first round last year. And they're a really good team. I think Duke's unbelievable if they have Cooper Flagg healthy. I've been watching them recently, and that's an elite team that's capable of winning a national championship. I think Florida's been terrific. So I don't know if it's wide open. I just think the 1 seeds are, just dominant, more dominant than we've seen maybe in recent history. I'd be surprised if we didn't see like 3 1 seeds in the Final Four. Truthfully, I just think they've been that good. So I don't really know what to make of it, other than if San Diego State can get out of here, you just kind of feel like you're rolling downhill. But they got to get out of here first.
And from a local standpoint, I mean, to have not only just 1 team in, but you have San Diego State, UCSD on the men's side, and on the women's side as well. Yeah. Like, who knows when that ever will happen again? I mean, it's taken over a decade for both the Aztecs men's and women's team to be in the NCAA tournament at the same time. And then UCSD in their first year in Division I, that everybody makes it. I mean, I just think that as far as like the local basketball college scene goes, I mean, that's an incredible story in itself.
It's amazing. I think we mentioned it last night, actually doing the wrap-up show for the Padres, where I think San Diego is one of 2 cities with 2 teams in the men's tournament, and the other city is Omaha, Nebraska, the University of Nebraska, Omaha, and Creighton, and then San Diego State and UC San Diego. But you're right, on the women's side, for San Diego State to get back under Stacey Terry Hudson is quite an accomplishment. For UC San Diego to go to the tournament, their first year of eligibility, men's and women's, is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Let's see if these teams can win. It'd be great to see this continue beyond this week for the men's and the women's teams in San Diego. But what is it? I mean, it says a lot about college basketball in the city, obviously, and it's just it's a win for everyone involved. I think if you're a college basketball fan in San Diego, this is a special time always. But now that we have all these teams in, this is quite unique. It really is.
All right, so John is at open practice right now with the Aztecs. He is going to go watch a little bit of open practice. And are you going to be joining us after?
Yeah, I'll come back in after you catch up with Marcelo Balboa. I'll come back and join you on the other side.
Okay, so Marcelo Balboa, Apple TV, MLS. He was on the call on Saturday night for SDFC's game against Columbus. He's going to join us next. Stay with us right here on Jon and Jim. All right, this update is brought to you by Rapid Radios. The Aztecs are in the tournament. They'll take on North Carolina tomorrow night in Dayton. 5 p.m. is when our pregame coverage starts. 6:10 is when tip-off is, with Ted Leitner on the call on San Diego Sports 760. Both the men's and women's team for UCSD are in the tournament as well. UCSD will take on Michigan Thursday at 7 p.m., and the women will take on Southern in the first 4 on Wednesday at 6 p.m. The Lady Aztecs, they'll take on number 3 LSU on Saturday night at 7:15. Moving over to SDFC, they picked up another point at home this past Saturday night against Columbus in a 1-1 draw. And today, Mike Schilt named Michael King as the Padres opening day starter. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever, perfect for instant contact with an aging parent for a limited time. Go to rapidradios.com and you'll get an extra 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off. All right, back here on Jon and Jim. We've been talking about it today. San Diego FC, they remain undefeated at a 1-1 draw against Columbus Crew on Saturday night. And Marcelo Balboa was on the call. He joins us right now from Apple TV Plus. Marcelo, thanks for joining us once again. First off, how was your experience on Saturday night at Snapdragon Stadium to see, professional soccer here on the men's side, and just the atmosphere that you were able to experience?
It was awesome, man. It was everything we expected. Full stadium, 30,000 people yelling and screaming. It was, I think, everything we hoped for to have in San Diego. You had a great game, and unfortunately, they only got a point out of it, San Diego. But everything you would expect in a game, from drama to the fans screaming to the beginning with the fireworks, with the Padres there, it was a good show.
Yeah, and you said unfortunately, and I feel like I get the sense from this team as well that they're not satisfied with just picking up a point. Their first home match against St. Louis, it was a scoreless draw. They picked up a point there. But this club, and correct me if I'm wrong, it feels like they're disappointed with how, their first 2 home matches have gone, even though they've picked up points in both of those matches.
Yeah. You got your point. But, you played one of the best possession teams in Major League Soccer. Mm-hmm. The first half was a little bit more leaning towards Columbus' side. Second half, you started going a little bit more forward. You started being a little bit more direct. The corner kick comes. They get a guy thrown out because you guys are going over the top and becoming dangerous. And you had everything. And I felt like, you were pushing. San Diego was pushing and pushing and pushing. They couldn't get that second goal. But it was a great show. And I think everything you wanted, except for not being able to get that second goal.
Marcelo Balboa joined us here on Jon and Jim, a part of Apple TV's coverage of Major League Soccer. So, the game started out, Columbus, like you said, kind of like out of the gate, like, whoa, this was, they started out very fast. But what did you see in that game from SDFC to kind of calm it down and flip the momentum to their side going into the second half of that match?
I think the second half, they started playing a little bit more direct. Columbus played a high line. They wanted to condense the field. And when San Diego started going over the top with Dreyer got in behind, Angel got in behind, all of a sudden that started causing problems for Columbus. And that's where the red card came. They got in over the top. They had to take him down. And next thing you know, you're up a player. So it was, like I said, everything you would want, they did the second half. Struggled, not really struggled, but just couldn't find the rhythm because of what Columbus was doing. And they switched up tactically a little bit, and they were right back in the game.
Now, obviously, we don't know when Chucky Lozano will return for San Diego, but like when he does return, and this team will have played, let's just say they play, 6 or 7 matches or 8 matches before he returns, right? Like they will already have, somewhat gelled together in a style. Like, how do you stick Chucky back into the fold here? And when you do, what will this club eventually look like?
Well, one, you got to wait and see what happened with Varson. He went out of the game with an injury,
right?
And no one knows how long that's going to take or what it was yet. So I think you take one injury at a time. When you got a guy like Chucky, it's not very hard to plug a guy like that in. He's your franchise player. He's a designated player. As soon as he's healthy, he goes right back into the lineup. So it's not about plugging him in. It's more than anything about just making sure when he comes back, you build his time up. You know, like every coach and every training staff knows. You get him minutes until he's able to go back to 90. But a guy like that, you know, you slip right back into the lineup without even a problem.
Marcelo Balboa join us here on Jon and Jim. And we talked a little bit about this last week. Like, can San Diego FC, can they compete? You know, the more matches go by, the more obvious it kind of feels like that they're going to compete to be in the playoffs. Doesn't it just feel like, unless something catastrophic happens, that this team will be competing for a playoff spot this year?
You know, it's so difficult to say, but I mean, you can right now. You'd have to say, one, they're a good team. They're solid. They're entertaining. They're attractive. They're getting results. So I would think that it would be very difficult for them to be not in the top 9 to go to a playoff or to go into the wild card. But right now, you would definitely put them amongst the top 6 teams in the West.
And obviously you would love to win all first 4 of your matches, but picking up a point, staying undefeated here in every match, you know, you have 2 road wins as well. You couldn't have wrote it up better to have this start for this expansion club, right?
No, not at all. I mean, expansion clubs, everybody worries about their first win, right?
Yeah.
They got that on the first weekend against a very good LA Galaxy team. You know what I mean? So now it's how do you win at home? That's going to be, you win 2 on the road, you tie 2 at home. How do you win games at home? Because the home games, you win the home games, that gets you into the playoffs. You pick off 4 or 5 wins on the road, that gets you a home field position in the playoffs. So they're definitely moving in the right direction.
Now this weekend, they're taking on Austin Sunday at 1 p.m. Now, you know, we mentioned San Diego State dealing with some injury, or not San Diego State. San Diego State's on my mind. Sorry. San Diego FC dealing with some injuries here. How is that going to affect them this weekend, and what type of team is Austin?
I think Austin's a team that's being rebuilt. They've got some fantastic players. They brought back Brandon Vasquez. So they've got a good player. They've got Rubio, who's another forward. So they're moving in the right direction. They got a great win in LAFC this weekend. So, you know, I guess it all depends on, in Barson, what happened to him, if he's able to play this weekend or not. If Chuki's probably not ready to play. So you're going to have to mix and match a little bit. You know what I mean? When you put Angel at the 9 and you put Valakari in on the left side, you know what I mean? So that's the beauty of having some depth. You're going to have to use it throughout the year. And right now, from what it looks like, you're going to definitely have to use it against Austin.
Going back to just, you know, the atmosphere at the stadium, how impressed are you with what SDFC has built in such a quick amount of time here?
Well, listen, you got to give a lot of credit, because what the Wave have done there, they've built a good, solid foundation. San Diego Soccer has been traditionally there. Mm-hmm. So when you go into that market, you've got to start tapping back into the youth market, men and women, and they've done a great job. The atmosphere was electric. We went to the post-game party a little bit up on the second deck, I think it was, and how they're doing things and how they're promoting soccer right now. They're definitely moving 100% in the right direction and hitting the right market.
Yeah, it's I've been to both home matches so far, and it just, you know, it's an atmosphere that it's fun to be in.
Yeah.
The crowd was on there, you know, just waiting to erupt. The first 2 goals that were called back because of offsides, you're like, oh my gosh, this can't happen. Finally, they got pushed through there and got the header there in the 69th minute.
Exactly.
So yeah, great atmosphere all in all. Marcelo Balboa joining us here on Jon and Jim. Are you on the call this weekend for San Diego FC?
I'm not. I've got Colorado and Portland this weekend.
Okay. But I'm sure you'll be on the call again.
We've got a few more games coming up. Yeah.
Awesome. So we'll look forward to that, and we'll look forward to talking to you down the line. And have a great rest of your day, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, Marcelo Balboa there of Apple TV's MLS coverage. San Diego FC takes on Austin FC this Sunday at 1 p.m. Our coverage starts at 12:30, right here with Adrian Garcia Marquez and Darren Smith. All right, coming up next, I think John's going to rejoin us. I see him standing there. Yeah, John's going to rejoin us. We can play Trainwreck Radio. You want to play Trainwreck Radio? All right. So right now, call 877-767-4760. That's 877-767-4760. Your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Rise Against and Papa Roach on March 26th at Gallagher Square. If you want those tickets, play Trainwreck Radio with us, 877-767-4760. A pair of tickets to see Rise Against and Papa Roach. All of that coming up next. All right, back here on Jon and Jim. Jon is back. Hold on. All right, there we go. What's up? How you doing?
Howdy.
Hello. Jon's back.
I'm back.
How's practice going? Anything
Anything
exciting happening?
No, since it's open and you have like North Carolina's coaching staff and like video people here, and I don't think you're going to learn a lot about the game plan for tomorrow. But Magon looks good. He's been practicing. He's got a full knee brace on his right knee. But yeah, he's been a full participant. I think he practiced fully yesterday as well. So that's, I think, the most encouraging part for Aztec fans, that Magon Guth will be playing tomorrow for the Aztecs.
When North Carolina walked in the building, Magon should have just started having a limp, like just a fake limp, just walking like, my knee, and then giving this like false like I'm injured, and really he's not. And goes out and has like 10 blocks. Head games, bro. Yes.
Yeah.
I want to play head games. Play head games.
No, I'm excited to see actually UNC on the floor, because they'll be on the floor probably at some point in the next 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be fun. I'm excited for that game. So Michael King being named the opening day starter. We talked about this earlier in the show, Jon. The rumors about Dylan Cease being on the trade block from guys like John Heyman. Your antennas didn't perk up to say, why is Michael King starting on opening day? This might mean that Dylan Cease is going to be on the trade block now, right? That didn't cross your mind, did it? No.
I mean, it's an interesting point. I mean, I guess it's like a game within a game, but no, because of like what we talked about earlier, which is over 162, it really doesn't matter who starts first or second to begin a year. I mean, they're going to need Cease whether he pitches game 2 or game 122. So, no, I don't think it has anything to do with anything other than maybe King is lining up for / King has deserved it. Cease has started on opening days before in his career. Now Michael King has that opportunity for the Padres in 2025. It's earned based on what we saw last year in the postseason and the regular season. So I wouldn't read anything into it other than it's a great honor and accomplishment, and hopefully it's the springboard for Michael King having another really good year.
And did you see what Kevin wrote today as far as like the bubble guys on this team? Guys like,
I have not. I saw it, but I didn't click on it.
So guys like Yuli Gurriel,
right,
have like a lot of supporters in the organization. Jason Hayward is pointing towards being this team's everyday left fielder to start the season at least. We all know how much Schulte loves Martin Maldonado. They love Tyler Wade because he's a vibe guy. What do you make of Yuli Gurriel had a good game today. I don't know if you saw, he had a double and a home run. He had 4 RBI. If he makes the team, would that surprise you?
No, not really, because I think there's a reason they signed him. I think none of this, truthfully, should have anything to do with spring training for someone like Gurriel, Iglesias, like guys that they either know or are proven. Now, there's questions. They all have question marks. That's why, they're signing these prove-it deals, essentially. And Gurriel's 40 years of age, but there's a reason he's here. So he's either going to fill a role or not for the Padres. I think it has nothing to do with what he does this spring, and it's more to do with what he's done, I guess, in recent history. Now, he didn't do anything, obviously, last year, and he's had some down years. But, no, I think they know who Gurriel is. They know who Jose Iglesias is. Shoot, they know who Tyler Wade is, truthfully, because he's been with them for the last year. So, I think they'll make the determination based on what they deem to be best for their roster, not what's best based on our spring numbers, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, someone could earn a job out of spring, no question. A reliever, a bench piece, you could emerge. There's no question about it. But when you got 40-year-olds like Gurriel and Jose Iglesias, I mean, they either make the team because the Padres have a need for them or they don't. And for me, it has nothing to do with what they've done over the last 15 or 20 days in Arizona.
Yeah, I think when you look at guys that are trying to fight for a roster spot, the young guys are the guys to look at. The older guys, they have a body of work, right? They got a body of work. I mean, if it was based on spring training, Martin Maldonado is nowhere near this team. I mean, the dude's got, offensively,
right. Good point.
It's been awful. Same thing with Jason Hayward. Offensively, this spring, he's been awful. So, yeah, I think veteran guys have more leash as far as not having to prove themselves in spring. And I think that's what you're seeing right now with this Padres team with guys like Yuli Gurriel, even though, he's had a nice spring as far as numbers go, but those numbers have been helped out with what he did today, obviously. Yeah. And guys like Oscar Gonzalez have had good springs, and Tirso Ornelas have had good springs. And those are the more of the guys that I'm looking at numbers for spring instead of Jason Hayward's and Yuli Gurriel's and Martin Maldonado's, even though I would not want Martin Maldonado on this team. I think there's still a pretty good chance that he's going to make it.
Yeah, I think you said it well. I mean, again, you can earn jobs. You can earn jobs in spring training, but spring training is not the end all be all. Is it encouraging that Gurriel had a good game? Yeah, it is. You'd like to see signs of life from guys like Hayward or Gurriel. But Hayward can hit, he can hit 0 for 30 this spring and be the starting left fielder, right? I mean, he's kind of proving that right now. He hasn't hit in the spring. That's not going to take the job away from him. There's a reason they signed him to that major league deal. He's going to have to hit the major leagues. Like the thing with everything I'm saying, like the caveat is they're going to have to perform once the regular season starts. I mean, Gurriel, is going to have to play a role, or Jason Hayward's going to have to contribute. And you look up after 30 days, and if you're not contributing, well, then AJ Preller, Mike Schilt, front office, they're going to have decisions to make. But you got to get to the regular season first and see if they can contribute before deciding if they can contribute or not in the middle of March.
Because we talked about this last night on the wrap-up show. Their 7 through 9 in the lineup is going to be on paper to start awful. Like whatever combination it is of either Hayward and Martin Maldonado or Elias Diaz and maybe like, I don't know, give me somebody else like Connor Joe, right? On paper, that's not great to start out with. And you look at last year's team, Jackson Merrill was hitting 7th. This year, it's probably going to be guys like Jason Hayward. So
big difference,
huge difference. And, to turn over a lineup, if your 7, 8, 9 hitters are all black holes, you're not going to be able to turn over the lineup as much as you want. And that's a big thing going into going throughout the season to turn over that lineup. And a lot of times last year, that lineup turned over a lot because the bottom half of the lineup was guys like Jackson Merrill and Higgy, and those guys had great seasons. This year, you're counting on Jason Hayward and Martin Maldonado or Elias Diaz and Connor Joe and probably Yuli Gurriel to turn over that lineup. And some days they will, but a lot of days I don't think they'll be able to do that. And so that just puts more pressure on, their top 4 and the rest of the players in their lineup, including Bogey and Cronenworth to really have good seasons, or you're going to rely on guys that are black holes when they shouldn't be the guys that you're relying on.
Yeah, and I don't know if I can make like the definitive statement right now that they're not going to be 6th in on base and 7th in slug in the major leagues this year, but that's what they were last year. 6th in on base, 7th in slug. It added up to 6th in OPS in the major leagues. The only teams with a better OPS than the Padres, who play in Marine Layer for 3 months, were the Dodgers, Diamondbacks, Yankees, Orioles, and Phillies. That's it, with a better OPS than the Padres. I mean, they had an awesome offense last year, especially in the second half. I mean, top 20% of the league offense. I don't know if that's the expectation. That's probably not even a fair expectation. This is going to be starting pitching for me. Your top 4 have to stay healthy. That'll absolutely give you chances to win a lot of games. But are they going to be 6th in baseball and on base plus slugging, knowing that 7, 8, 9 have so many question marks? That to me is a pretty big ask. Therefore, they're going to have to find it elsewhere, and it might be with the rotation. I don't know. On the margins, like I always say, but I think the offense takes a step back. The question is, how much of a step back does it take? Does it go from 6th to 8th, or does it go from 6th to 16th here in 2025?
Give me a number between 1 and 8.
6.
Caller number 6, 877-767-4760. Caller number 6, you've won a pair of tickets to see Rise Against and Papa Roach on March 26th at Gallagher Square. Be caller number 6 right now, and you win those tickets, 877-767-4760. All right. You going to join me for Kevin?
Do you need me? Do you want me? Do you do, Kevin? I'll react on the other side. I'll be listening.
Well, you want to just listen?
Well, I won't be listening, but I mean, I know what you're going to ask about.
Okay. Well, Kevin Acey, he's going to join us next on Jon and Jim. All right, this update's brought to you by Rapid Radios. The Aztecs are in. They'll take on North Carolina tomorrow night in Dayton. 6:10 tip-off. 5 p.m. is when our pregame coverage starts. The Aztecs women's teams is in the tournament as well. They'll take on number 3 LSU on Saturday night at 7:15. And both UCSD men's and women's teams are in. The men will take on Michigan Thursday at 7 p.m. The women will take on Southern on Wednesday at 6 in the first 4. SDFC picked up another point at home this past Saturday night against Columbus Crew in a 1-1 draw. And Mike Schilt today announced that Michael King is the Padres opening day starter against the Braves. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever, perfect for instant contact with an aging parent. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com and you'll get an extra 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off.
It's Jon and Jim to warm up that drive home.
All that I cared about was San Diego State just getting their name called. I didn't care about seeding. I didn't care about first 4. I didn't care if they were a 16 seed, even though they wouldn't have been. But I just didn't care. All that mattered was that their name got called. And now you can say for the last 5 years, the Aztecs have been in the NCAA tournament.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, final hour of Jon and Jim. Jon is in Dayton right now watching the Aztecs open practice, getting ready for North Carolina tomorrow night at 6:10 p.m. But right now, Kevin Acey joining the show from Peoria. Kevin, thanks for hopping on. Really appreciate it. Were you surprised this morning about Michael King over Dylan Cease?
I was. And let me say that I wrote it at the end of last year, so this is just me popping this out there. Michael King was their best pitcher last year. If you go by consistent performance and putting the team in a position to win over the course of his 30 starts, Mike King was the best pitcher on the Padres last year. I thought that they were going with Dylan Cease. It appeared to be lining up that way. And, the guy had a no-hitter and finished 3 places higher in the Cy Young voting. I just thought it was kind of like a natural. But Michael King, it was a different Braves team a little bit, but he handled the Braves in the playoffs. And this does make it, they were going to really have to tweak the alignment going up to that in order to not have Mike King have a week off before his first start. So this does make it easier. And you know what? Probably like flipping a coin.
Yeah, both pitchers could start game 1s of series or openers or opening days. It is like a 1A and 1B option there. And after we get past opening day, Kevin, everything becomes, like I said this earlier in the show, it feels like after opening day, everything is on autopilot as far as routines go, and everything just becomes a blur.
Yeah, the opening day is the only regular season game that feels like when I covered the NFL, right? That's probably the one thing I miss about the NFL is the build up and then arriving at the stadium on a Sunday. And it's huge. That the guys that you covered spent the whole week getting ready for it. And opening day sort of has that feel. It's if not even bigger, right? Except for the back of your mind, especially if you're going to cover most of them, you're going, there's 161 after this.
Yeah, you have to pace yourself. It's definitely a pace yourself type of sport. Kevin Acey joining us here on Jon and Jim. You wrote earlier today, Kevin, about some tough, difficult decisions ahead for the Padres as far as their bench goes. Yuli Gurriel picked a nice day to have a good day, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, that is funny. But look, the guy has still been very selective on his pitches. He knows how to take at bats. I think that of all the guys that, maybe Jose Iglesias. He and Jose Iglesias were in a different situation to a certain extent than other guys trying to make this team. They certainly weren't guaranteed spots on the roster, but what the Padres were looking to see is, do these guys still have it? And if they still have it, they were going to get a shot during the regular season. They were going to be on the opening day roster, and it appears that is the case. And that's the case. Look, Jason Hayward hasn't looked good, But the Padres kind of figured he wouldn't, Like Jason Hayward doesn't look good for long stretches in the regular season, and often in spring training he doesn't look good. But he's played 14 years in the league, knows how to take it at bat, is a veteran presence, and Jason Hayward is going to get a shot on this team. And if April doesn't go well, then probably all bets are off, right? But that's kind of the case that Yuli Gurriel was in even before today with the home run and the double. They've been very pleased with Yuli Gurriel.
I said, whoever made the private jet trip with Manny, probably pretty safe. And Jason Hayward was on that trip, so I kind of figured you put two and two together. You make the private jet, the odds are you making this team are pretty high.
More so. And look, all this does is support. They signed the guy. It's Jason Hayward. They're not going to cut him after spring, as long as he didn't trip over his feet, a couple times. On the bases, because he has actually done that in left field. The guy has started every game with the other regulars. What would make anyone think he was not going to be on this team?
Right. Yeah. If he's out there with the regulars, the odds are he's probably going to make this team coming out of camp. Kevin, what, in your opinion, is probably their hardest decision? Internally for them, what's going to be their hardest decision to make here?
So if you go ahead and assume, and like I wrote today, that it certainly looks like Iglesias, Sheets, and Gurriel are on this team. So that's 3 of the 4 available bench positions, right? If you take out a catcher, right? Mm-hmm. That leaves one spot. Eggy Rosario, Tyler Wade, Brandon Lockridge. That's brutal. Now, that's brutal for guys to be on the team. That's brutal for them. Look, it's not the final decision. And, Brandon Lockridge will be on this team at some point this year, unless no one gets injured, right?
Yeah.
But Eggy Rosario and Tyler Wade can't be optioned. So, and I know a lot of people out there down on Tyler Wade. Let me tell you something. There are going to be people in that organization, especially coaches, pounding the table for Tyler Wade to be on this team because of what he brings. And I think people do forget how well he played at the things he was asked to do, including filling in for Manny Machado at the beginning of the season. So it's going to be a really tough decision because you'd be letting Tyler Wade go probably, though. I mean, he could clear waivers and go to the minor leagues and all that, but Eggy Rosario will not. Eggy Rosario will be on another team. You let him go.
Yeah, I think Eggy Rosario with no options left, a guy that has hit lefties in his career very well. That could be a difficult one. What about
Connor Joe's coming on?
Yeah,
Connor Joe's coming on, and I haven't talked to too many people that are thinking that Connor Joe's going to be on the team. And here's the reality of that: he's going to get he's going to make his money, and he has options. So Connor Joe could well be a big part of the Padres in 2025, but he has options. But here's the other thing. He's, pretty decent left fielder. And he's been hitting lately, and he's got a 500 on base percentage in spring. Not to get too into stats in spring, but Connor Joe hasn't had a bad spring. So that's a tough decision as well. But the fact is, if you've got options, that just makes the team can kind of toy with that.
Kevin Acee joining us here on Jon and Jim. Are we closer to clarity on the 5th starter spot?
Sure, Matt Waldron's out of it, and I kind of been saying all along. I know I said Matt Waldron I thought would be it, but the reason is I think that they really wanted Matt Waldron or Randy Vasquez to step up because they're known quantities, right? And Randy Vasquez got really good stuff if he can throw the right pitches to the right players in the right spots, which too often he gives up too many hits, leads the runs. But yeah, Stephen Kolek, you go just on the stats and him being so far doing what he's been asked to do is the leader, right? They love Kyle Hart. When I say love Kyle Hart, don't mistake me that I'm saying that they think he's the number 1 starter, but they love Kyle Hart for a back end of the rotation guy. And they really like what Stephen Kolek's done. And, they would love for Randy Vasquez to come out whenever he's going to start, say Thursday, and, throw 6 shutout innings. They'd love that and make the decision even harder. So in some ways you have clarity because Waldron's out. In other ways, Jim, maybe less clarity because they all are kind of stepping up and they're all on track to be able to make it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that you want these tough decisions because that means guys are actually doing well leading up to these decisions of who's going to be where on this roster. I think, yeah, that's a good thing to have as far as the fifth starter spot goes. Kevin, update on Darvish. I know that he's the fatigue thing. I don't like that. What does that mean?
It's something that we've heard before with you, where it's like his like general fatigue and his body. My understanding, and I don't know this, I go with two sources if I'm going to go with something, right? Like it's two people that know what they're talking about. Like, and I have not confirmed this. He might just be sick, you know? Now I don't know why they wouldn't say that, but it's like general soreness, like, you know, that happens. You get a little. Now he's 38 years old, and they did say, I'm not trying to downplay this too much because look, he's not pitching, and they don't know when he's going to. And Mike Schilt wouldn't rule out that it might not affect the start of the regular season. They still don't think it will, but it might. But he's 38, and go back and read what I've written. That they have said since before the start of spring training that they were going to be very careful with Yu Darvish because August he'll be 39, and look at how he pitched at the end of last season after having 3 months off. And they can't do that this year. They don't want to do that this year. But he doesn't have to make 32 starts and go 6 innings in every one to be incredibly valuable to this team if they get where they want to go.
So let me just clear this up so I can understand. Is it arm fatigue or is it just general body fatigue?
Body fatigue.
Okay. I just wanted to clear that up. Yeah, that makes that makes me feel a little better. Like, because I was like, arm fatigue. Like,
Well, here's the other thing. If it was arm fatigue, that happens in spring training, and I'm not saying like I'd be with you. You'd be a little more alarmed. But the thing about you is he's even forthcoming with the media sometimes afterwards, not like before, about what was bothering him. And he is something that Ruben Niebla has talked about a lot, as much as any pitcher, in tune with his body and communicates. And if there's something off, like he's just in tune. You like works on his feet for a half an hour before he does anything every day. Like he's just so in tune with his body, So, this isn't like the level of alarm that I might have with someone else, I think.
Well, let's hope it isn't, because I mean, having Yu Darvish in this rotation is kind of like a big thing, like he wasn't with this team a lot last year, and the team did win 93 games, but to have him in the rotation to start the season, just on paper, already makes it feels like this rotation is better than last year's, especially with the added addition of Nick Pivetta.
You're so right, because to me, the most mind-blowing stat of last year is that combined, Joe Musgrove and Yu Darvish basically missed a season.
Yeah.
And this team still only used 8 starters, the fewest in its history.
Wow.
Teams generally use between 9 and 13, something like that. So that kind of, and let's just call it what it is. I mean, hey, kudos to that kid who came up. What was the kid who made 8 starts, got traded to the Marlins? Started out with 6, started out with a quality start against the Angels. Anyway, credit to him, to Vasquez, to Waldron, to the guys who got it done. But let's just call it what it is. That's freaking luck. And that's not going to happen again. That you are able to get through a season with 8 starters if Yu Darvish only makes whatever it was, 19 starts, and Joe's out for the season. But let's say one of the other guys, that's just not going to happen. So you are totally right. The importance of you.
How much sweating is Luis Campusano going to be doing the final week here of camp?
It's going to be hard to tell. Luis pretty mellow. That will be one of the big ones in the room. I wrote about that today, the room, and how, AJ Preller likes debate and fosters it, demands it. And that people need to understand is when it's reported, the Padres think, what does that mean? Because guess what? It is almost never unanimous. You know what was unanimous? When they decided they wanted Juan Soto. That was unanimous in the room. There wasn't a single scout that raised his hand and went, terrible idea. But that will be one of the big points when they're making those decisions a week from now, Martin Maldonado or Luis Campusano. And you and I could talk for probably 15 minutes about the pros and cons of both. And just yeah, it's going to be a tough decision for them.
Yeah, it'll be a very tough decision.
I don't think you have 15 minutes, or I would explain why it's going to be a tough decision. We can save that for Wednesday if you'd like.
Well, I was just about to tell you the rest of the week, Kevin. We have March Madness NCAA tournament games, so we won't be talking to you until next week.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I know that's probably news to you, but I'm breaking it to you right now on air. So,
well, I should have put it together, but I do get pretty myopic during the baseball season where this is all I'm thinking about.
Yes.
This is a blessing and a curse.
Right.
But I don't have to read some of the news that's out there.
Yeah.
But I should have put that together. I realize we're a basketball town now, and so that's a big deal. Right on.
Yeah. So we will talk to you next week, Kevin. In the meantime, have a great rest of your week and enjoy the rest of spring training while you can.
It was a pleasure being on the Jim Show.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it. Kevin Acey.
All right.
It's Kevin Acey in Peoria there. All right. We'll react to that coming up next. Also, my back page at 5:45. Stay with us right here on Jon and Jim. All right, back here on Jon and Jim. Good conversation there with Kevin. Yeah, I think if I was Luis Campusano, I would be nervous right now. And one of the biggest things why I would be nervous is because of what Mike Schilt said publicly about Martin Maldonado. And we talked about this on the show whenever it was, maybe a week and a half ago. I forget when. But when Mike Schilt is praising Martin Maldonado to the point of basically comparing him, just his IQ, not his on-field stuff, but his IQ, right? Saying that this guy's IQ is just like Yadier Molina. I'm like, uh-oh. That's trouble for Luis Campusano. And as we've talked about, Campy last year, you know, he caught the no-hitter, but all of a sudden he just, for whatever reason, just can't have it stick. And then Kyle Higashioka, you know, takes off and you know, not only defensively is he better than Campy, but offensively, he damn near carried this team for like a month of last year. He's one of the best power hitters in the sport for a good stretch. And then Campy got put to the bench and then got sent down to the minors, and we never saw him again for the rest of the season. The guy, Elias Diaz, made the postseason roster over Luis Campusano. So I just think right now this team is leaning towards Martin Maldonado, and I would not be surprised if Martin Maldonado makes the club over Campy. Now, would I do that? Absolutely not. I don't think Martin Maldonado should be on this opening day roster. Defensively, okay, he might be good in their eyes. But offensively, he is god-awful. I mean, you are basically, whenever he's in the lineup, putting out a lineup that is pre-DH era. I mean, talk about automatic out. This guy is the definition of automatic out. But if he does make the team, it's not going to be the end-all, be-all. It's not going to be like, oh my gosh, this team's going to lose 100 games this year. No, it won't. I won't like it, but I care way more what Manny Machado and the top four of this lineup, hell, the top six of this lineup does over Martin Maldonado. Martin Maldonado could go 0 for his first 50. If this team starts 20-10, I won't care. I won't get that many opportunities in the first 30 games, but you get my point. Wins and losses should not, and I hope will not, be determined by Martin Maldonado. Now, if it is, then we got problems. Like if he starts, you know, making errors behind the plate or not able to throw anybody out on the base pass or, you know, up in situations with runners on and never comes through and they lose games and he could have been a difference in those games, then yeah, we got problems. But he'll be the 9-hitter. He won't play every day. And if Manny goes, you know, and starts the year hitting 130, that to me is a way bigger talking point than if Martin Maldonado started the year hitting 090. You know, if this team wins, it's all that matters. If Martin Maldonado produces absolutely nothing and they still win, then that's best of both worlds. But if he produces nothing and they're losing and he's involved in, you know, some errors behind the dish, or he's not throwing guys out, or he's up in big situations with runners on and he can't come through, then yeah, then we're going to have to start talking about it more. But until those things come up, I think right now it's best to not be, I guess, over dramatic about it. I'll be a little dramatic, but I won't be over dramatic. I'll be a little like, I don't really like it. I don't know why he's on this team. Same thing with Tyler Wade. Now, Kevin is, I keep continuously pushing, and I get it, the fact that Tyler Wade is a big clubhouse guy. You know, I've seen Bogey say things like he's one of the best teammates, or was that Luis Arise? One of those two said he's one of the best teammates I've ever had. All right, it's great. if a guy's taking up a roster spot just for vibes, I can't. I don't know if I can get behind that. Now again, the same thing with Martin Maldonado. This team starts winning and they start out hot. Have Tyler Wade be on the bench, being the biggest vibes guy ever. Hell, I might even come up with a take why Tyler Wade is actually helping this team without doing anything. But if he's taking spots over guys like Jose Iglesias, which I don't think he will be, or even Connor Joe, I think Connor Joe is a way better option than Tyler Wade. Then I just, it doesn't make sense to me. Let's just say that. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I think they could do better than Tyler Wade. And if this means they have to release Tyler Wade, guess what? He's going to clear waivers. Like, I don't think any team's out there just waiting for Tyler Wade to get cut by the Padres to pick him up. Like, I don't think the Dodgers or the Yankees are sitting there being like, hey, has Tyler Wade been cut yet? Let me know. You think Andrew Friedman's sitting there being like, hey guys, when if Tyler Wade gets cut, please let me know because we need to snatch him up ASAP. Yeah, I don't think that's happening. I think he'll clear waivers. I think he will. It's okay. I think Tyler Wade will be on this team this year in some capacity. All right, coming up next, San Diego State's in, UCSD's in, both the men and women's teams are in. It's just a great time to be a college basketball fan here in San Diego. March Madness is upon us. We'll talk about that coming up next. All right, this update is brought to you by Rapid Radios. The Aztecs, they are in. They're going to take on North Carolina tomorrow night, 6:10 tip-off. 5 p.m. is when our pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. UCSD men's and women's team, they are both in. UCSD men's will take on Michigan on Thursday at 7 p.m. The women will take on Southern in the first 4 on Wednesday night at 6 p.m. And the Lady Aztecs, they're going to take on number 3 LSU at 7:15 on Saturday night. Of course, if the Aztecs win, they'll take on Ole Miss on Friday afternoon. SDFC picked up another point at home this past Saturday night against Columbus in a 1-1 draw. And Mike Schilt today named Michael King as the Padres opening day starter. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. Perfect for instant contact with an aging parent for a limited time. Go to rapidradios.com and you'll get an extra 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off. All right, so just cleaning up a couple things here to remind you guys for this week. The Jon and Jim show is very abbreviated tomorrow. Very. Our coverage of the first 4 starts tomorrow at 3:30. So we will have a quick 90-minute show. I know Brent's laughing back there.
I was going to say, you think that's quick? Wait till Wednesday.
Yeah, wait till. So tomorrow we will be on regular time, 2 p.m. I'm pretty sure Jon will not be joining us. So it'll be me and Brent from 2 to 3:30. And then as Brent said, Wednesday afternoon, we are on at 2 o'clock, but we are only on until 2:30. And at 2:30, because it's a Wednesday, we have the first 4 of the other 2 games of the first 4 on Wednesday night. And usually on Wednesdays nights, we have SDFC Midweek Live. Instead, it's going to be aired at 2:30 to 3:30. So usually it's on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. But instead, this week it's going to be on at 2:30 on Wednesday. So 2:30 to 3:30 will be SDFC's Midweek Live. And we will have a show from 2 to 2:30. That's crazy. A 30-minute show, Brent. Have you ever had a 30-minute show that you've worked in your life? Like 30 minutes and that's it?
Maybe, but that was probably because there's only like an hour show, and then they just cut some of the other stuff out of it.
Like, I'll just do it.
But it's kind of like the opposite. You know, we always joke about how we have plenty of time. Now we won't have plenty of time.
We won't have any time. It will be very weird to do just 30 minutes. Like usually, now preparing to do 4 hours, like there are some days that are easier than others. Like today, for me, flew because there's so much to talk about. And if you have guests and everything, it doesn't feel, as daunting, right? But for 30 minutes, I'm like, oh, it's a cake. Like 30, like 30 minutes goes by like that. So just a reminder, tomorrow, Jon and Jim will be on from 2 to 3:30. 3:30 is when our coverage starts of the first 4. 5 p.m. Is our pregame show in Dayton, 6:10 tip-off with Ted against North Carolina. And then Wednesday, we'll be on from 2 to 2:30. And then from 2:30 to 3:30 will be SDFC Midweek Live. And then 3:30, we'll start our coverage again of the first 4. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, this station is all March Madness. Like from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. at night will be all NCAA tournament. So if you are looking for the place in San Diego to listen to every single game of March Madness, it is right here on San Diego Sports 760. So just a reminder there for everybody out there wondering the schedule for this week. And by the way, next week as well, too, March Madness games on Thursday, Friday. And then as far as, we get to Sweet 16 matchups and then Elite 8 matchups. And of course, we will carry the national championship game right here on the station as well. Speaking of obviously March Madness, the fact that you do have not only the Aztecs men's and women's teams in the tournament, you also have UCSD's men's and women's team in the tournament as well. It's just an amazing accomplishment for this town. If you're a college basketball fan living in San Diego, you have for the next 5 nights something to root for in this town. Tomorrow night's San Diego State men's team against North Carolina. And then you got Wednesday, you got UCSD women's team in the first 4. Thursday, you have the UCSD men's team against Michigan. If San Diego State beats North Carolina tomorrow, then they'll play on Friday afternoon at 1 p.m. And then, oh, by the way, if UCSD beats Michigan, they'll play on Saturday. And then Saturday night, you have the Aztecs women's team playing against LSU at 7:15. And then, oh, by the way, if San Diego State men's team beats Ole Miss on Friday, guess what? They'll play on Sunday as well. So, like, you know, and then, oh, by the way, if the Aztec women's team pulls off the shocker of the century, then they'll play on Monday. Like, if you're a basketball fan in this town, college basketball fan, you're living good right now. It's good times for you. Now, will those things happen? The likeliness of all those things happening very low, but at the same time, it's fun to think about those possibilities and think about the outcomes, like the opportunity for USD or UCSD to take on San Diego State in the Elite Eight. Like, that's a possibility. The likelihood of it happening, probably not that high, but you know, UCSD is kind of the trendy pick this year. They are the trendy 12 seed pick. And I think San Diego State, you know, obviously they have a lot of work to do, but the possibility is still there. It's in one of my brackets. I put it in one of my brackets to happen of the 57 brackets that I filled out already. So yeah, I'm just excited, man. I'm just excited for the next week here for you know, the college basketball scene here in San Diego to be on the national stage. I think it's pretty cool.
I just like that we're going to have March Madness to help us get through the next 11 days until opening day.
I do like that because at this point of spring training, like, yes, there are roster battles, not bottles, roster battles. Say that 3 times fast. That are still to be had. But we know who's on this team. Like, it's not, there's not going to be any big surprises here. Like, oh my God, Manny Machado didn't make the team. No, like there's going to be no big surprises. And if Martin Maldonado makes it, so be it. Tyler Wade makes it, so be it. There will be reasons from the Padres why those players make it. So there's really nothing here left other than the 5th starter spot, the end of the bench, the 24th, 5th, and 6th man on the team. And then we get into the start of the season against the Braves in 11 days. So you're right, Brent. You know, March Madness has come at the perfect time here because, I mean, it's been a pretty quiet spring training, all things considered, right? And that's not a bad. I mean, I don't mind it being a quiet spring training. Again, we're in the content business, so the louder the better. But the main thing is, I want to see this Padres team compete this year. I want to see this Padres team win this year. I want to see this Padres team go back to the postseason. And I think having a quiet spring training is a good thing if you want those things.
Yeah. And for me, this is going to be a weird week because the Cubs technically start tomorrow morning and then the next morning, and then they come back and then they go back to spring training. It's
just like the Padres did last year. Yeah. It's a very weird thing. And, you know, for the Padres to win 93 games last year and have kind of a wonky spring training, it kind of just tells you spring training really doesn't mean all that much. Are you going to be waking up at 3 a.m. to watch this morning or tomorrow morning?
I'm not going to get up on purpose to watch it, but I do have insomnia problems most of the time. So if I get up and it happens to be, you know, I look at the clock, I'm like, oh, it's 3:15. I might throw the game on for an inning or 2 and then go back to bed at like 4 o'clock.
Yeah. Last
That's
year,
what I did last year.
Yeah. Last year it was the same thing. So the Padres were playing and we were carrying March Madness here on our station. So we had no Jon Jim show. So it made it very easy for me to be up at 3 a.m. to watch the Padres. I don't know if I'd want to do that again. It kind of like ruined my next 3 to 4 days just because my sleep schedule was completely off. But it's a fun one-time thing, you know, like, hey, it's cool to be up and watch the team and they were good games. So at least you had that. But thankfully this year it's a more normal spring, a very normal opening day, and we will be at Petco Park at a normal time and not have to wake up at 3 a.m. to watch the Padres, even though I didn't mind it in the moment, but I don't know if I would do it again. All right, coming up next, we'll wrap up the show with my back page. Stay with us on Jon Jim. the show here on a Monday. Good show today. Really the only show of the week. Only full show of the week. As I said, tomorrow, very abbreviated show, 2 to 3:30. And we get ready for coverage of the first four. And then on Wednesday, very, 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 very abbreviated show. Only 30 minutes, 2 to 2:30. And then we have SDFC midweek live from 2:30 to 3:30. So, yeah, this is the only full show of the week. John, he will be with the Aztecs for as long as they continue to win. So yeah, I'm excited. Tomorrow, I'm nervous. Obviously, I know Aztecs fans are nervous out there as well. North Carolina's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough, but I saw Ziegler's piece here. I haven't read it, but I just saw it. And I made this point earlier in the show. The entire country is rooting for San Diego State over North Carolina, unless you're a Tar Heels fan, because the Tar Heels did not deserve to make the tournament, and the optics of it look horrible with their AD being the head of the selection committee, and so everyone's rooting for North Carolina to lose.
I think even if Carolina did deserve to get into the tournament, they would still not be. I think the country would still cheer for San Diego State over Carolina just because it's going to be a underdog versus a blue blood.
Yeah, and it's not like a big underdog. I mean, they are 3.5. I know it started out at
it's 2. Up to 4.5 now.
It's up to 4.5. Oh, yeah, I don't like that. I mean, it started at 2.5. Now it's at 4.5. Okay. Well, Magoon will play tomorrow. He's a full go, so that will be good. But yeah, I mean, 4.5. This thing might go up again before the start of the game to around 5.5. I don't know. It's gonna be tough. But as I said, the main thing is, as long as they got their name called, that's all I cared about. And if you want to be that Debbie Downer out there that says the first four isn't even making the tournament, well, I got news for you. Yes, it is. It is. This is not like a consolation that doesn't count. And then, like the NBA play-in tournament, which those things don't count, right? Like they count to make the playoffs, but as far as like stats go, they don't count. Tomorrow will be considered a NCAA tournament game. So it counts 100%. They're going to put 2025 up in the rafters at Viejas next year that says they made the tournament, and it counts.
Well, it counts too, because when you fill out your bracket, they make you fill out the playing games.
Exactly.
If they didn't count, they would just skip the first four and not even make you fill them out on your brackets, but they make you do that. So it counts.
It 100% counts. All right, Brent, let's get to it. So happy St. Patrick's Day. Way to bury the lead, Jim. No, unfortunately, I'm not wearing anything green. I don't really own anything green. Do you own anything? You own Bucks gear, so you do.
I have a couple Bucks things and like one green shirt. I don't have a lot though.
But still, it's I know you have a Bucks jacket and a hat. Those are both green, so you could do that.
I didn't even realize it was St. Patrick's Day. For some reason, I thought it was yesterday. I don't know why. Probably. Peanut has a green shirt, and she had it on yesterday. And one of the neighbors is like, "Oh, she's all dressed up for St. Patrick's Day." I'm just like,
so in your head,
yeah.
Like,
so I was
St.
like,
Patrick's
it must have been yesterday.
And no, I'm not going to wear any Eagles gear for anybody out there wondering. Erin did wear her Eagles Super Bowl champion sweatshirt this morning, so she had the perfect go-to green to wear for St. Patrick's Day, but. Because it is St. Patrick's Day, here's a couple deals on St. Patrick's Day for you out there. Raising Cane's. Love me some Raising Cane's. I do love, Chick-fil-A is elite. I don't know, man. Raising Cane's is up there.
I like Chick-fil-A more, but I like cane sauce.
Cane sauce?
Cane sauce is awesome. They should sell that in stores.
So good.
Chick-fil-A does with their sauce.
I love cane sauce. I love the chicken from Raising Cane's. But they're not giving away chicken. They're giving away this. So today, because it's St. Patrick's Day, they're giving away a free leprechaun lemonade. for today only. So Raising Cane's is getting in the St. Patty's Day spirit with a festive and free treat for its club members. Now, today, members can enjoy a free leprechaun lemonade. It's a fun green twist on the chain's classic lemonade. To claim the offer, club members simply need to scan their card or enter their phone number when ordering. Whether you're pairing it with some, crispy chicken fingers or French fries or whatever, you scan your code. If you're a member, boom, there you go. How you doing? Free leprechaun lemonade. So there you go. If you're looking for other deals, Krispy Kreme today has turned their original glazed donuts all green. So if you go to Krispy Kreme today, all of their original glazed donuts will be green donuts for St. Patty's Day. So the brand's signature original glazed donuts, they're turning festive green, giving them a lucky original twist.
Kind of disappointed in Krispy Kreme.
Why?
It's kind of lazy just to make them green. Can you guys come up with like
that's a lot of work.
Like an Irish cream donut or something like that, opposed to just we put a couple green food coloring dots in the donuts when we cooked them.
I mean, that's a lot of work, Brent. You got to have all their donuts be green. Like every donut's green, every single one. Now they do obviously have probably like specials, like special Krispy Kreme green donuts.
Yeah, like Christmas time they have like peppermint and candy cane flavored stuff. It's like you kind of come up with like
maybe people just want the original glaze.
Bailey's Irish cream donut or something.
Maybe people just want the original glaze, Brent, and they just don't want to get a specialty donut and they only want an original glazed. And thankfully the original glaze is green. Maybe that's what people want. Speaking of Krispy Kreme, they are releasing a new menu item. It is a donut shake.
Go on.
Listen to this. The brand is launching a donut key shake, offering a sippable version of this cookie donut combo. Right now, the donut shake is a donut with a shake and then a donut. Okay. And the donut is a cookie wrapped in a donut and deep fried. Sign me up.
Yeah, I'd do that.
Sign me up.
When I was a kid, I was always one of those people that would, when you put your cake in ice cream, I'd always just stir it together anyway. So it'd turn into like an ice cream cake shake type thing anyways. So I'd be down for that. That sounds good.
And finally, real quick, Chick-fil-A is testing 2 new frozen treats, Ice Dream Spin and Ice Dream Float, here in San Diego for a limited time. So go to Chick-fil-A, try their new menu items, their new floats, new shakes. You can test them out here in San Diego. You're welcome, everybody. All right, abbreviated show tomorrow. Start at 2. Until then, have a great rest of your night, everybody.